Oh, we're like pros at this now. So you're absolutely flat out busy then, Alex, now all the time, pretty much. Is it getting back to normality, or is it getting, I suppose there is no normality, is it? Because you had a different job before COVID, really, didn't you? I suppose commentating was sort of like a part-time hobby stroke job, wasn't it? Yeah, well, I suppose you've got to start somewhere, that's the thing, haven't you? And, you know, from acorns do oaks grow. We miss you at Simsport, obviously, but it's always the way that we can't afford to pay you probably what is the going rate. So it'd be better if you know, for you, if you've got the work, then take it. If not, you're welcome to join us. It's one of those, isn't it? I think it's an understanding. No, the opposite. Yeah, and you know, just for the record, Simsport will always be in your debt for helping us get started with the broadcasting and commentary thing, because without you and Mike, we would have never have done it, and that's honest truth. We didn't really know how to get started. Mike approached us, and then Mike said he could sort comms out, and you came along, and yeah, it was just you two were instrumental to getting us to where we are now, to getting me to doing this even. You know, I wouldn't be doing any of this if it wasn't for you. And we'll never ever forget that, never. Yeah. the people that are giving that abuse need help. It's really sad that the world's still like that. I mean, people. A person is a person to me. It doesn't matter what, where, when. You're a person in your own right, and your character will come across to me, and I will judge your character as another human being, as an individual, not as a race. It's crackers to be honest, mate. I'm being quiet. Oh yeah. Sorry, they're on here. Yeah. I'll be talking to Mr. Haley tomorrow, so I'll make sure the rules are all sorted and done as per requested. Yeah. I'll chase them. Yeah, I did mention it to them. I'll chase them up and I'll get the entry. I'll tell them that we're paying the entry fee for them. So. Yeah. No, we'll sort it. Yeah, no, we'll sort it. Yeah, Mr. Yao was asking me what, he was. In the nicest way, Mike was saying, what was your conversation with E-Team Brit regarding, and I said, well, as far as I know, we're just doing the rules and the stewarding like last time. And he was sort of saying, I was hoping they were going to come to you for the server because you boys know what you're doing with the server and you can provide them one. I said, well, no, that's not been mentioned, mate. So I said, I'll stay out of it. I'll let you talk to them about that. And if you want to use our server, then yeah, absolutely not a problem. We'll do. That's fine, mate. Yeah, no, it was only Mike. Mike was just. I think Mike was really getting up to speed with what myself and you had discussed regarding this, so he knew what was left on the table because Mike's at that point. Obviously, with Simply Race coming back online, he's going to be that busy that he's sort of trying to prioritise what he needs to do. I mean, I think he's still down for streaming it, but part of me wouldn't be surprised if he didn't come and say, Steve, can you stream some of them? Yeah, well, as it stands, he said to me that he's okay for streaming them, but I know what Mike's like. If he gets busy, that's why he's been helping me so much. Not just because he's a decent bloke, but it helps him because I can cover his events to his standard. Are you going to mention why the stream was delayed at the beginning? Are you going to give it a quick word? Just we might have a few people wondering what's going on. We've got 9 minutes left in practice and 5 minutes left on the stream starting, so not too long to waffle before qualifying. Bloody hell, that's a bit unprofessional. Absolutely, mate. So, usual scenario, we've got 1 minute 20 to go. I'll play the solutions advert, and then it'll be the very short SRHI one, which will go into the holding screen. It is indeed. 20 seconds, mate. Just so you know, audio will be live once the adverts are playing. Okay, and here we go.
Every year, there are 2 minutes of silence that are held in the Netherlands to remember victims of the Second World War and others who have died in both wars and peacekeeping missions ever since. During these minutes, public transport stops and radio and television only broadcast the ceremonies. During Remembrance Day in the Netherlands, flags everywhere across the nation are set at half-mast as a sign of mourning from 6 p.m. until sundown. Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to the iconic Spa-Francorchamps, based in the Ardennes Forest, Stavelot in Belgium. It is the current venue of the Formula One Belgian Grand Prix, and it hosted its first Grand Prix nearly a century ago and has held a Grand Prix every year since 1985, apart from 2003 and 2006. This circuit also hosts the iconic Total 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps and the TCR Spa 500. It also welcomes Beetle silhouettes with the Uniroyal Fun Cup of 25 hours. It's one of the longest motor races in the world, just over 7 kilometres in length, and we are here for the 6th round out of 9 for GT3 Season 3 Sprint Series. Alex Goldschmidt and Steve Proudly with you this evening. Good evening, Steve. How are you, my friend?
Very well, thank you very much, Alex, and looking forward to another fantastic race tonight with the SRHI GT3s, like you say, from Spa. Practice server looking a little bit damp, some heavyish rain, so it's going to be some tricky conditions this evening, but we have the usual contenders setting their laps, with Boothby at the top of the timing board in practice at the moment, but there's quite a few guys not too far away from him. The rain usually is a good level around Spa, so we'll see, and excited for this 60-minute race tonight.
Yes, well, the big news is George Boothby will be able to extend his lead quite considerably over Niels van der Kerkhout, because the latter is not racing. He has withdrawn from tonight's event, and he will return on the 18th of May in 2 weeks' time at race 7 at Imola. This gives the opportunity to Sem Spenkelink from Dark Sky Racing, who took a victory back at Barcelona but had a race to forget 2 weeks ago at Circuit Zolder, about 90 or so kilometres away from this particular circuit. Two fantastic tracks, and it's so good to have them on the calendar. Marcel V rounds out the top 4. It's been a season for Marcel V in the Artworks 969 Bentley to forget. You've also got the likes of Clayton Barney, Alwyn Nam, amongst others, that round out the top 6. Going into semi-pro, it's Patrick Vance on overall points. Well, in the semi-pro side of things, he's leading by one single solitary point ahead of Giorgio Raimondi, who has had he's had 3 top 10 finishes, best finish of 5th overall at Barcelona and 9th at Zolder. Dennis Verkman, Tim Kroll, Piet van, Jordi Bakker, Damian de Keizer, amongst others. There's still a lot of points to gather, so we look forward to see how those championships unfold. And Steve, Spa, iconic in its own right, and to see that we will have 40 cars heading down from La Source and then going on the run down to Eau Rouge and Radiant, then down the Kemmel Straight, it is going to be a feast for the eyes and also for the ears.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Spa's got to be one of the the top, most famous, favourite tracks of almost all rail world drivers, sim drivers alike. It's I mean, those first few opening corners, are absolutely iconic. Like you say, through Eau Rouge, Radion, Camel Straight, really, it's one of the most recognisable first series of corners on any track, and it certainly makes for interesting drag down to that towards the end of the Camel Straight. And in these conditions, in the rain, we know that at the top of Radion there gets to be quite a lot of standing water, so on the opening lap when they're going up there, usually 2 wide and sometimes even 3 and maybe, dare I say it, 4 wide, that can have an interesting outcome sometimes when the guys hit the standing water. So hopefully everybody will get through there clean, but it is certainly going to be tricky this evening, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see who comes out on top. But it could, as we know, in these wet conditions, as we've seen in the past, it does shake up the grid a little bit sometimes. Some guys managing to deal with the conditions a little bit quicker and a little bit better than other guys. Some of the cars are better in these conditions than others, and obviously some guys have maybe got a wet setup ready for this. Some guys will be working on they'll have a dry setup that they've just maybe modified ever so slightly with the ride height, tyre pressures and things like that, but yeah, certainly they're just coming to the end of free practice, so we're not far away from qualifying at the moment. Next couple of minutes we will be into qualifying, and all the questions will be answered.
Yes, after free practice, George Boothby, the current championship leader overall, a 2 minute 27.042. The track looking rather damp out there. The microclimate of Spa always provides that great equaliser. Clayton Barney in the 85 rounds out the top 2. Nard Cox, who has been at the sharp end in qualifying, but the races haven't always gone his way. Teammate 2, Sem Spenkelink, P3 in that session. Simon Zimmerman again, the Nissan, really showing some good credence. The number 21 doing a fantastic job. The German driver from GPR Esports. Then Sem Spenkelink rounds out the top 5 ahead of Tim Kroll. Klaas Verster, amongst others. But now, qualifying is underway here at Spa-Francorchamps. A 30-minute session. And what's more, Steve, it looks like we've only got one car out on track. Obviously, there are those within our community, which is predominantly a significant Dutch community, also paying their respects on Memorial Day today. And obviously, there's Liberation Day tomorrow, which means that the flags that are currently at half-mast until sundown. And look at the rainfall, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be one that is going to test all and sundry. And there's Piet Vanier in the number 34 Audi heading through Les Cornes. So some fantastic circuit. Well, the way that this circuit just sort of ebbs and flows, and then you get the undulation like they're going through, just gone through Malmedy and then down into Rivage. This corner used to be known as Bruxelles before Pouhon actually used to be named Double Gauche, which basically meant double left. But Pouhon has a little bit more of an attractive saying than two words that says, yeah, it's just a double left, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's some interesting corners. I mean, they're just going around now. This one in the dry, it's almost flat. You know, you drop it down the gears to get the entry, but then you're absolutely flat on the throttle with the steering input hard to the left, and looking to click it up a gear as you exit the corner to maximise. But it's very easy to run wide. But in these conditions, I don't think they'll be pushing quite that hard. The understeer will be prevalent if they do, and we might see quite a few people with the track limit issues on those corners, especially where they're just pushing that much harder. But the one thing with Spa is although it does invite you to push hard and use the rumble strips, there is quite a bit of runoff parallel to the track, so you can usually gather it up and get back on. The downside to this track is that where you do run wide sometimes and run off, you're usually going at a fair rate of knots and can incur quite a bit of damage. But it's looking like they're building up now to the first flying lap we're going to see now from the Audi. So let's just stick with this Audi. In fact, we'll probably go on board with him and just do the first flying lap on board tonight.
Yep, so let's without further ado take you on board with Piet Vanier in the number 34. And so it is currently in the semi-pro class. Down the gears into first, slowest part of the circuit, around 60 kph. Now let the car come across the left-hand side and then drag it back in to get the sort of like the textbook run heading into Eau Rouge. Now it's over 140 miles an hour, fifth gear. Now is Vanier going to lift? A little. He does. He drops about 30 kph going through from Eau Rouge through into Radion. Now down the Camel Straight. Wipers on full speed. You can see that there is one of the Lexus cars behind. That looks to be the number 933. That is Tim Cole from Lork Racing. Down into Les Cornes, down into second gear. And you probably might see him snatch third very, very quickly. Well, he actually goes through into second, through into Malmedy, up to third, now down to Rivage, up to fourth gear, down to first, and is pretty much treading on eggshells there. 90 kph, just coaxes the car in and is just making sure that he's hitting the racing line. He's not doing anything untoward, he's not taking excessive amounts of curb or hitting the throttle too hard, which then could spool up the rear tyres and pitch it into a spin, and that's not what you want on a qualifying lap. Now down through Pouhon, nice and tidy from Piet Vanier. And you can see that Tim Kroll has actually stayed a little bit further behind Piet Vanier because of the fact he'll want to have clear air, even with the momentum carried behind a car, especially if you're on a qualifying lap. You don't want to be too far behind because you'll pick up that dirty air, and especially in wet weather conditions, what that will do is unsettle the back end of the car, especially when you're putting the power down and trying to gather traction. Up to fourth gear now. So it looks like we've made our way through Stavelot, and now we're heading through into Blanchimont. So Piet Vanier, 240 kilometers an hour in fifth gear, and has a little bit of lift and drops about 15 or so kph. Stayed in fifth gear, now down into the bus stop, all the way down the gearbox, down from fifth to first. Again, one of the slowest parts on the circuit. Now out of the bus stop, and now heading across the line. What is going to be the time that Piet Vanier is going to set? A 2 minute 26.781. Good time for the 34 Audi, as we now wait for Tim Kroll. Well, Demian de Keyser goes across the line. Well, Tim Kroll actually did a return to garage there. So Demian de Keyser in the number 15, 1.1 seconds behind. But still a very decent lap there, Steve, from Piet Vanier.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good lap in the conditions. He was pushing. You could hear the traction control working away. You could, see that he was having to lift. You could hear he was having to lift just to avoid that understeer through some of these faster corners. But all in all, a relatively tidy lap, and it's got a banker lap in for him. He's in there, but Valenduk has gone faster. Vanier is now dropping down, but he's still only technically he's now 1 second off the pole time as Bani puts in a 2:25.6. So Bani's straight on the pace. As we've seen in previous rounds, Bani does know how to pedal that car around. He's pretty quick in the McLaren, and he's had some very respectable results. But I expect the session may get a little bit quicker as the lads get to grips with the conditions. We're not going to see a change in conditions. It is forecast rain for pretty much the full qualifying session. Track temperature at the moment 19 degrees, air temp 14, so a little bit of wind tonight, 2 kilometres an hour wind, so they might just get caught out with some of the wind in the braking zones, as we see Spenkling there just using every bit of track and a little bit more. They really are going to have to be wary of track limits tonight, especially during the race, because obviously 60 minutes you can soon rack up enough track limit cuts warnings to suffer a drive-through, and a drive-through at Spa, it's an enormously long pit lane, Alex.
Yeah, it is indeed. Well, it looks like we got the top 7 represented by 7 different manufacturers. So Clayton Barney on provisional pole with a 2-minute 25.689. Simon Pike in the number 13 Dynamic Motorsports A Honda NSX second. Then it's Yannick Valenduk in the 301 Lamborghini. Martin van der Kraan in the 253 Mercedes. While Arvin Nam's just broken what I was just about to say. Thank you very much. 2 Lamborghinis in the top 5. Dan Lenson in the 31 Ferrari, Simon Zimmerman in the 21 Nissan, and Pete Vanier in the number 34 Audi. That is 7 different manufacturers out of the top 8, and we already have the top 22 of the 40 drivers have set a lap time. Here is George Boothby, the current championship leader in the 666 from Sidemax Motorworks, as he now comes towards the stripe. What's the time for the Brit going to be?
24.
2 minutes 24.762. You remember when we saw this? What was it? Was it Zolder or something like that? I can't remember which race it was. He pulled out an absolutely inhumane lap. It was so alien-esque that both of you, I think we had our jaws dropping like Jim Carrey in The Mask, double over.
Well, with Boothby, I think you can take your pick at a number of tracks. But we've got Zimmerman now going to cross the line. If this is a clean lap, he's 1.5 seconds up. So this is going to be a good improvement for Simon as he crosses the line. And indeed, he goes into second place. But he's still 4/10 off that lap of Boothby. So that's still a pretty big gap from Boothby as he jumps back to the pits. But some impressive laps from the guys. But often in these wet conditions, you do see a more exaggerated times from the drivers. It's not usually as close as in the dry conditions, because as I say, some of the guys will be on the setups and they'll be making do with small adjustments. Some of the guys will have full complete wet setups. They'll have practiced in the wet. It's just the way of the world. That's what they do. So it'd be interesting to see how they do all deal with it. But yeah, the usual suspects at the moment are going to the top of the timing sheet, has to be said, with Boothby currently the man on top.
Yeah, I'm still really impressed with Simon Pike's lap, a 2-minute 26.112. Here's Joris Everleens in the number 17 Honda, teammate to Simon Pike. So they're the pair of the Dynamic Motorsports A Honda NSX Evos, the car that is still to this day being built by Jazz Motorsports in Italy, who also run the Honda FI8 WTCR program. And Everleens currently down in 38th. Kern Scepter in the 32, making his way down in towards Eau Rouge and Radiant. And we had a brief yellow flag out there for a moment, as we see one of the Porsches come out of the pits. Aaron van der Rooyen, I've just noticed he is currently running out the top 8, and he's 1.5 seconds exactly off of George Boothby. But just ahead of him is the number 69 of Anthony Terhorst. And they are teammates, so that's going to be a very interesting row for if it stays like that in about 20 minutes' time. Jordi Bakker from Pulse Motorsport in the number 99 Lexus, a car that always seems to go well in the wet. And we've seen that before, Steve. We saw that, I think, when you and I did the SRHI 3 Hours of Hungaroring, tail end of last year. We saw that Tim and Dennis Kroll, they were absolutely motoring in the Lexus. And it is a car that has actually been a little bit of a dark horse this season, particularly in the semi-pro class.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's a good all-round car. As a Lexus, it's maybe not quite as good in the dry conditions as some of the other cars, but certainly if you can get the setup, get it dialed in, we've seen quite a strong grid of Lexuses on the SRHI. It seems to be quite a popular car choice, and Jordi Bakker at the moment, he's yet to really sort of set a decent time to where we would expect him to be, but he's currently 2 seconds up on that time he's got now, that's in 26, so that will take him to within a second and a half of the pole time if he can carry this 2 second advantage round, although he's potentially at the moment stuck behind someone, although he could be getting a bit of a slipstream, but I think he's gonna just catch him, maybe slightly wrong, but if he can get past here into the braking zones, all good. But if he doesn't, I think there might be a few expletives coming out of that cockpit right about now.
Yeah, probably a few Dutch ones there.
Yeah, I mean, it's cost him a second. That has cost him a second. So he's not going to be best impressed with that. He's made a slight improvement, but yeah, I think he suffered there with that car in front just holding him up, and they could have been kinder to him, because I don't think they were on a lap, to be honest.
Yeah, I've just noticed that Clayton Barney's actually closed the gap. He's actually gotten ahead of Simon Zimmerman, so Clayton Barney goes second, provisionally in the McLaren 720S, at 2 minute 25.281, just over 3.5 tenths off of Boothby. But Boothby again out there and looking to push the envelope. We always know that George will want to put those times out there, but he'll always, I mean, we've seen some great battling from him, but we've also seen some great battling from Niels van der Kerkelt. These two, they're not only just prevalent here in SRHI, but they're also prevalent in other communities. I mean, they're teammates in Sprint Cup on SimGrid as well, running in the McLaren 720S. But even though when they're not working as a team, for a fact that they are both pretty rapid.
Yeah, absolutely, and at the moment Boothby's he's round about 6 tenths up on his time, so this is definitely going to be an improvement. We have got Sebastian Spenklik. I was thinking he was actually going to be putting a faster time in, but he's lost a bit of time now, so he's not improved, and he's gone back to the pits. But George Boothby, yeah, he's 6 tenths up on this lap, and he's coming towards the latter part of it, and he's holding that advantage. So I think we're going to see the gap to second increase to nearly a second as he crosses the line in a few moments' time.
Well, Arwin Nam's just gone across the line, 2 minute 25.143. What George Boothby brings now is going to be absolutely inhumane, because he crosses the line at 2 minute 24.339, 8 tenths quicker than Arwin Nam. So that's an absolutely alien-esque lap again from George Boothby. There's never any surprise from that. We've got yellow flags out on the circuit at the moment as some of the drivers make their way down the Kemmel Straight, which includes a few of the Lexus cars as well. Looks like Lenson has just gone up in the 31. Dan Lenson in Team Rocket the Fast, he has gone up into P8. Well, Yannick Valenduk has now gone up to 4th position on a 2 minute 25.266. So this is where things are getting rather interesting. Plus also, the rain has not stopped as Anthony Terhorst now makes his way through Blanchimont and into the bus stop. So the number 69 from ProSim Rig Racing, teammate to Adam van Drooinen. So they're both in 12th and 13th. Let's see what Terhorst brings on this qualifying lap. Does he improve from 12th position? Well, he improves on terms of his actual overall lap time, but not enough to get himself up probably into the top 10. It was Yannick Valenduk in the Team Rocket the Fast 301 Lamborghini. And good to see that the Lamborghini's doing really, really well around here. I mean, we did see that Pete Varnier, Steve, set the initial benchmark, is now down in 19th position, where the top 20, which has Dennis Werkman rounding it out in the 444 Lexus, they're covered by just over 2.5 seconds. Boothby's just literally gone, well, as I say that, Valenduk goes sideways, the back end hits the curb, and then all of a sudden it sends the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo into the barriers on the left-hand side. That's not what you want on a qualifying lap, and that was probably around, I think, No Name, coming out of Rivage and into the left-hander. that's where he had that slight moment, and that means that Valenduk has to return to garage, get some damage repaired, and get that car back out on circuit, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely, but Zimmerman, who we're watching at the moment, is improving by around about half a second at the moment, so that's going to bump him up the order, potentially up to maybe even second place if he can carry this advantage round. He's 6/10 up at the moment. He's into the latter part of the lap, as we say, and he's just got a final few corners to go, and he's now 6/10 up, so he's building. He's definitely keeping that half second, so we could see a change for second place on the grid and just close the gap a little bit towards Josh Boothby's time of a 2:24.339, which is a pretty quick time in these conditions, it has to be said.
Yeah, this could probably put him on around about a 2-minute 24.8, I would imagine. If he's half a second up already, let's see. Goes across the line. That was a brilliant lap. 2-minute 24.5. So Simon Zimmerman has got a little bit of pace. I think he's found something extra in that car. There's the artwork. Now that's a brilliant livery. I have to bow. I doff my cap to thee, Dave Jr. The artwork's Brawn GP Mercedes Special. That's brilliantly done.
Very nice looking car, and what's more, he's around about a 10th up. He's carrying a 10th, so he's looking to improve ever so slightly. Might not be enough to actually to jump, because as I say, to take him up any positions, because as I say, he's around about a 10th up. Sem Spenkling, who's in front of him, is also 2/10 up. So it could just be that Sem maybe jumps Tim Kroll and Dave Jr. stays where he is at this moment in time. But yeah, absolutely fantastic looking livery. Really like that one. I think that's probably one of the best looking cars on the grid at the moment.
Well, they do say, Steve, less is more. And one of the things I do like, he's got brakes, please, on the back bumper above the rear diffuser. Absolutely cheekily done to perfection there, Dave Jr. I doff my cap to thee.
Yep, and there we see Sem Spenkling. He has gone faster. He's up to 5th place now, so he's finding a bit of time. Dave Jr. is 3/10 up as well, so he's finding time. So he might just find himself now jumping further into the top 10 and securing a bit higher starting position. We have got over 12 minutes left of the session to go. The guys are certainly improving. There's a few guys out on track now making some minor improvements. There's nothing to shout about. There's only maybe a 10th here and a 10th there, but it all counts. Dave Jr. currently circulating again, and he's round about, like I say, at the moment he's made massive gains in that braking zone. He's actually gained, he's at 7/10 up now, Alex. He comes to cross the line, and this is going to take him well into the top 10 indeed. Takes him to
P3.
3rd place. Yeah, P3, great lap from Dave Jr.
6/10 exactly off of Simon Zimmerman. So that now means we have a Ferrari leading from Nissan, Mercedes, Lamborghini, Honda and Porsche. 6 brands represented in the top 6. There's Nard Cox down in 9th position at the moment. Teammate 2, Sem Spenkling, who we just briefly had on your screens. I like the fact that both Nard and Sem have decided to do they've done an invert on each other's liveries, haven't they? So Nard has got the predominant yellow with a bit of cyan blue, and then you can't exactly miss Sem Spenkling's livery at all, but Nard Cox goes 9th. Stays 9th, because on that particular occasion his lap time was just 3.3 tenths off of his best effort so far, so he's still got time to build.
Yeah, sorry Alex, he seemed to lose time. He was half a second up before that last corner, so I think he just got it a little bit wrong in the braking zone there. So Nard Cox has definitely got time in his lap, and he found it. He just lost it in the last corner, in the last braking zone, which is really unfortunate, because he was around about half a second quicker. So this is really going to start to close the times up on Boothby, and dare I say it, make it look a little bit more respectable and make George Boothby look a little less alien, a little more human.
Yeah, very, very true. I think Boothby knows that the drivers that are looking to get up close and personal, I think he's going to have a bit of a... I don't think he's going to be worried. I think he's just going to have to watch his P's and Q's when Godzilla is around, especially when Simon Zimmerman has put that thing on the front row of the grid.
Absolutely, and I mean, we've got Nard Cox here, and I believe Zimmerman's I think he's just behind him on the lap. In fact, yes, he's just behind him. But Zimmerman is improving by around about a tenth at the moment. Nard Cox he had half a second in the bag and he's lost it again. I think he's just suffering with a little bit of understeer here and there with that Porsche, and he's having to lift off a little bit in some of the corners, and it's just costing him that bit of time. He's gained some back. He's 3/10 up now, so he's got some time. But Zimmerman's lost his 10th. He's just about on for setting the same sort of lap time as he previously set, so it'll be interesting to see if he does improve, but he needs a massive, well, respectively, he needs around about 4/10 to take that pole position away. Nard Cox, if he can improve, he's got 2/10 now. 2/10 in the currently will take him up to round about well, he could even take him to P3. So it will be, they don't need much of an improvement, these guys, to get up onto those front couple of rows.
Yeah, he just needs to make sure that he negotiates the bus stop a little bit better, which he looks to have done this time.
He's lost it again.
It seems like the first part of it, he seems to come through really, really nicely, and then I don't know what happens. It's just like the second part of it. It just there's a spanner in the works. That's what happens.
Absolutely, in the first part of that corner he got it, but he almost like he overcooked it through the apex, and then just couldn't get it turned in tight enough for the second part, and just really totally missed the apex, ran out wide and just lost the time, as we see in Banny just having a little bit of a moment there as he's trying really hard. But we've got Tim Kroll, who's improving by around about a tenth again, and he's at the edge of that battle for the top 10, where a tenth or two will see you jump almost up to the top end of the leaderboard. So Tim Kroll has got it all to gain at the moment. If he can carry these 2/10s round, he could be on for a big jump up the leaderboard, but he's got quite a bit of the lap left to go, and we've seen previously from some of the drivers it's all about those apexes. It's all about not suffering with that understeer and just being a little bit more maybe gentle with the right foot, and a little bit more measured, shall we say, with the application.
Yeah, very much the case, because still with 7 3/4 minutes to go in qualifying for round 6 here at Spa-Francorchamps, or live on SRHI TV with Alex Goldschmidt and Steve Proudley, your GT3 commentators. We will be heading to GT4 next week, where Barcelona will hold round 6 of season 2, with Tim Fulbrook jumping into the lead commentary role for that one. But here, still raining, yellow flags out again, but briefly retracted, and quite a few drivers out at the moment. Tim Kroll looking to do his level best, as there was a bit of a guffaw there from you, Steve. What on earth was that for?
I was watching Marcel V on my other monitor and noticing that he was going around about 8/10 quicker. And he was down in around about 18th place. But if you look at the leaderboard now, he's third.
Yeah.
So and I was thinking, where is Marcel V? He's normally in there, certainly in the top 6. But yeah, he's just come out. He's put the lap in, and he's got himself up at the sharp end, albeit only just. I mean,
Tim Kroll! Tim Kroll has a moment.
Disaster.
Oh, that could have been a really good lap for him, and literally. We've seen that with Clayton Barney doing a 540 at the bus stop, and then Tim Kroll does a 180 and then gets collected. I think that was that was 313. That was Patrick Treffers and the other Nissan that's on this grid that clobbered the right hand side and properly scuffed up that Lexus. But Tim Kroll, he's got a chance. I mean, if he gets out very shortly. And he'll have a chance to probably do an out lap and then do a flying lap, but both be looking to maybe
2/10
Steve,
at the moment.
You know what? That's exactly what I was going to say. Is he up at the moment? Well, that puts him on a 2:23.9, and that would be absolute. I think everyone will be just like this, going like, "What on earth do we need to do? What on earth could we do against this man?" And I'll say this because I'm actually holding one. George Boothby's doing the hang on a minute, hold my beer.
Yeah, but what we are seeing, back sort of on a serious note this evening, we've seen quite a few cars just a little bit of a few mistakes here and there as they're trying to apply the power, and just to how quickly the cars are spinning round with these sort of damp conditions. It is only damp, it's not wet, the track, interestingly, at the moment, so it's almost bordering on where they're going to be suffering with tyre temps. I mean, if this was the race now with 40 or 50 minutes left to go, if it just started and the track was only damp, you would really start to suffer with tyre pressures and tyre temps. If the track was wet when it started, that little bit of a change in the track conditions can make the world of difference to your car's handling and feel. As Boothby is coming towards the line now, and he's still managed to carry a 10th, so there's going to be a small improvement. Is it going to be enough to get him into the 23s? That's the question. It isn't. No. It's a 24.054, so I couldn't get much closer without doing it, but what that has done is opened up half a second gap back to Zimmerman in second place, who then has half a second back to Marcel V, and then from third place down to sort of roundabout, I mean, you're going back down to 14th place, where they're all within sort of roundabout a second of each other.
Well, you look at from 3rd to 10th, Steve, they're covered by 2 tenths. That's how close it is in this qualifying session. You then look, then Nard Cox is like 30 thousandths off of Tim Neubauer in the 622 Audi. Then Tim Kroll, he's a further... Blooming hell. Like, literally, it's changing all the time. Clayton Barney has just gone up in... No, that's a... Oh, no, hang on, that's the new boy. Oh, Adam... now, was that Adam Banfield? Adam Banfield, I think... yeah, that is. Adam Banfield's just put in a 2-minute 25.038, and he's gone P3. That's the guy that has replaced the 127. That's of Javi Goichea. So, yeah. So Adam Banfield has gone into Porsche territory, and with the heaviest car on the grid, just a shade over 1,320 kilos, that Porsche, he's put that P3, and what's more, Steve, he's managed to better Marcel V by, what was it, half a tenth?
Yeah, I mean, it's so close. You know, scrap what I said at the beginning, where it starts, the wet conditions start to stretch out the times, and maybe things aren't as close as they are. I think this is one of the closest qualifying sessions we've had, albeit the guys are in their groups where you've got the top 10, you've got the 10 to 20th, where they're all very close, or you've got here the guys down from sort of 18th down into you know, the early 20s. Just a couple of tenths, and you jump in 5 or 6 guys. That's the exciting thing here, is we're watching Vale, who is currently 2 tenths up in his Lexus, and he's coming towards the end of the lap. So 2 tenths, he's gonna jump up 3 or 4 places at least, if he can carry this 2 tenths round now.
Yeah, interestingly enough, just been having a look down the timing tower on the semi-pros in this at the minute. Now, I'm just trying to remember with regards to Adam Banfield, so he effectively is a pro. So it looks like Tim Neubauer in the 622 is on provisional pole in the Audi. Zondervale, that's not an improvement, so the 808 Lexus from Mode 11 Racing stays down in 20th. There's Simon Zimmerman, so Tim Neubauer, Tim Call and Bart Svidink, that rounds out the top 3 in semi-pro as things stand with just under 1 minute and 3/4 to go. But Simon Zimmerman trying to squeeze every single last RPM and throttle input off of the Nissan as he now makes his way down to the bus stop chicane, but he is slowing.
Yeah, he was up on this lap, then he lost it, so I think he's backed out of it, and he's now coming round to do what will be his final flying lap. He's trying to get a good run out of here. I think we'll see him now. This will be Zimmerman's last lap. He was round about 3 tenths up at one point on his lap before he lost the time. So again, he's a driver that knows the time's in there, and he potentially just needs to keep it clean and get that lap done. We've also got Banfield, who I'm watching on the other screen. He's a little bit, just a few lengths ahead of Zimmerman. He's currently 2 tenths up on his time also, so he could be one to watch, as we'll just cut to him now as he's just going down the Camel Straight in a bunch of cars. So this might just bode against him if he gets stuck. As you can see, he's flashing the lights there, but I think everybody that's on track now at this stage will be on a flying lap, so he's going to probably find it hard to get past. Although the Lexus goes exit stage left there, I don't know whether that was to get out of his way or whether it was a mistake, but that's certainly done Banfield a favour, who is currently he's breaking even on time. Simon Zimmerman ahead of him is 2 tenths up. George Boothby is 2 tenths up. So at the moment, any improvement from these guys, it's not going to really do them an awful lot of favours, apart from Banfield, who's dropped to 4th on the timing tower as Muris goes into third. So a last lap gasp from Banfield could see him reclaim that third place if he can do it.
I don't think he will, because going into Les Cormes, he had a bit of a tank slapper. The car went squirrely at the back end, whilst the Lexus that was in front of him. So that is time expired now on the session. But yeah, Banfield had a massive tank slapper, Steve. I noticed it. I saw the car sort of go to the right and then instantly pitch to the left, and I thought that is not how you want to make your way through Les Cormes. Here is Simon Zimmerman, making his way down the hill.
Yeah, and he's still a 10th up, Alex Hill.
Oh, look at the time from Boothby. 2 minute 23.934 in his final attempt. He waited until the last gasp to go sub 2 minute 24. Boothby, you absolute charlatan. But yeah, let's keep our eyes on Simon Zimmerman. He's now coming down towards Blanchimont. And this could, again, looks pretty settled in that Nissan. Through Blanchimont, now making his way towards the bus stop, fully committed on full attack mode in Godzilla, through into the bus stop, and he's now going to try and make it through out of the final corner. What's it going to be for the German in the number 21 Nissan? Will he get any closer? He gets nearly a 10th up, but he still will end up P2. But George Boothby, again, the Boothby show continues on and on. I know that we laugh and joke about that, but Boothby, he's now got a new contender. He's got Simon Zimmerman and Godzilla alongside him. That's going to be rather interesting going into Eau Rouge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Nismo is a pretty quick car in a straight line. It's going to be quite challenging, but we know how agile that Ferrari is, and we know what how capable it is in Boothby's hands. So it's going to be a difficult one. There's going to be a lot of respect required, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of respect shown as they head through Eau Rouge for the first time and up through Radion, because you know it could end up getting very messy. But I'm sure we've seen some great racing from this community and these drivers in past events, and let's not forget we've had our fair share of rain and damp tracks, wet tracks, and some pretty difficult conditions, and it's produced some fantastic racing. And there's also the strategy element of the pit stop to be not to be forgotten. We've seen a few positions change with pit stops and things like that, so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens.
Yes, indeed. So the server for round 6, season 3, GT3 on SRHI TV with Alex Goldschmidt and Steve Proudley, your official commentators throughout this season. We have a bumper grid, 40 GT3 cars producing on average around about 520 or so horsepower each. So consider that, ladies and gentlemen. We've got well, let's take it from this perspective, shall we? So 40 cars, times that by 530 horsepower, we've got over 21,000 horsepower here on the grid. And the track is greasy, track temperature 19 degrees Celsius, clouds in the sky, the microclimate that surrounds Spa-Francorchamps, always something that provides us with some stellar racing. And there are some raindrops showing on there as well. And here is your starting order for race 6 of 9. George Boothby in the 666, the current championship leader, will have Germany's Simon Zimmerman in the 21 Nissan alongside. Then it's Dan Lenson and Tim Muris rounding out the top 4. Brent Wever in the 737 Ferrari, who actually replaced Michael Hartmann. Goes P5 and takes semi-pro pole on his, and alongside him is Adam Banfield, another driver that has jumped in for this round. Marcel V and Dave Jr. that rounds out row number 4 in the 969 Bentley and the 10 Mercedes. Arvin Nahm in the number 5 Lamborghini will have Sam Spenkelink in the number 64 Porsche alongside. They complete the top 10. Yannick Valenduk in the 301 Lamborghini and Clyde Barney in the 85 McLaren, that's row 6. Tim Neibauer in the 622 Audi and Nard Cox in the 35 Porsche, that is row number 7. Tim Cole in the 933 Lexus will have another Lexus in the form of the number 12 of Bart Svierdink alongside. Anthony Terhorst in the number 69 Mercedes. Koen Scepter in the 32 Audi. Martin van der Klaan in the 253 Mercedes and Jordi Bakker in the 99 Lexus complete the top 20. Completing the top 30, it's the number 13 Aston Martin of Simon Pike, the 808 Lexus of Zander Vale, Tom van der Meer in the 888 Lexus, Giorgio Raimondi in the 58 Audi, Frans van der Linden in the 65 Lexus. Then we've got Sebastian Sorresino in the 156 Ferrari, Aaron van Droonen starting all the way down in 27th position ahead of Pascal Visa in the 145 Ferrari, Patrick Treffers in the 313 Nissan, and Pete Vanier in the 34 Audi. That's the top 30 completed. And it's Dennis Werkman in the 444 Lexus, as George Boothby will now start leading the field alongside Simon Zimmerman away from the start-finish line here at Spa-Francorchamps. Damien de Keyser in the 15 Lexus, 32nd. Christian Malsharek, number 46 Lamborghini, starts 33rd, ahead of Bas van Melis on the number 11 Lexus. Sebastian Slopek in the 747 Ferrari. Patrick Vance out of position in the 36th placed number 777 Lexus, with Chris Hill in the 7 Honda, Benjamin Simmons in the 236 Mercedes, Joris Evelins in the number 17 Honda, and Klaas Vester in the number 90 Ferrari rounds out the 40 strong grid. 1 hour on the clock, 1 mandatory pit stop, and this is where Boothby, Steve, if I'm very much honest here, could have one hand on the title heading to Imola in a fortnight's time.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was interesting as we did the little bit of a grid walk there. We saw a lot of the cars, if you're not familiar with ACC, when they're up on the jacks almost, and they look like they're up in the air on the grid, it means the guys are making adjustments usually to the setup because they're in the pit menu. And rather than all just clicking drive and ready to go, they were all up in the air. There was a lot of guys potentially making last minute adjustments because, as we can see, the track is not damp anymore, it's now just greasy, which is one stage away from being a dry track. So I think a few final adjustments maybe on tyre pressures, just to really try and set themselves up for a good race, because the conditions, while we can see the forecast at the top right hand of corner of your screen, the condition is pretty stable for the next 30 minutes. This is a 60-minute race obviously, but it's stable for the next 60 minutes, where we're expecting just to see this slight rain, so we might see it going from greasy to damp, just depending how hard that rain falls.
Yeah, and as they say in Spa, when it rains, it definitely does pour. I know that for a fact because when I normally commentate at Karting Genk, which is about 100 kilometres away northwest of this circuit, when you get the microclimate, prepare yourselves for a rough ride. And that rain is coming down at a relevant consistency. However, is that going to make a difference to what happens on the start formation, as they are getting some brake temperature into the cars, some tyre temperature in as well. It's all about where the mind games now start, because Simon Zimmerman has got to put the fear of Godzilla into George Boothby, and that, Steve, is not a tall order by any means.
No, it's going to be difficult. I mean, as we always say with the, when you're racing George Boothby, as we've seen, as well as not just us saying it, we've seen it, you've got to try and get the jump on him at the start. And if you can get the jump on him at the start and just stop him from breaking away, once George Boothby gets a gap big enough for him to just focus on his own line and his own race, he's usually gone into the sunset, because he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. We've seen very, very few mistakes from George Boothby. He's a very, very assured, consistent and confident driver, and it's always a pleasure to watch him race. But Zimmerman and then the rest of the guys really just need to get a run on him. And at Spa it's difficult, because if if they both get a good run through Eau Rouge with Boothby in the front, then Boothby's going to have to go defensive at the end of the Camel Straight, because Zimmerman will, in the Nissan, will certainly get the run on him top speed wise, I would imagine.
Yeah, and very soon we will find that out, I'm sure, because they are making their way through Blanchimont and into the bus stop chicane. Now things get rather interesting. We're really getting into the business end. The halfway point at Zolder really gave us an idea of who were going to be the ones to be talked about. Well, Niels van der Kekelt has already been talked about this evening, but unfortunately he's not here. So it's Boothby from Zimmerman, Lenson from Muris, Wever Barnfield, Marcel V, then it's Junior Narman Spenkelink as we go on board with our pole sitter George Boothby, picture in picture. And now this is going to be an agonising wait, because what will happen now is we don't go green at this particular point, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not getting myself ramped up until they come through La Source very, very shortly. And I learnt this very, very quickly when I was working with Steve on SimSport Racing, when I first started working with them, and that was where my real sim racing commentary journey started. And as always, mate, it's a pleasure to work alongside you, and this one is going to be a cracker.
Yeah, let's watch them go now, and I'll hand back over to you very quickly as the lights are about to go green and we are at the right point on the track to start the race.
So, 60 minutes on the clock. Are we ready? Are we steady? Let's go racing here at Spa-Francorchamps. And Boothby and Zimmerman locked into a battle going into Eau Rouge for the first time. It's 2 by 2 down from row 3 backwards as Zimmerman has got right up the back bumper of George Boothby. Godzilla looking to strike going down the Camel Straight. And he's looking to use that advantage of horsepower. But with the torque that Ferrari produces, Zimmerman is going for it towards Lecombe, and Lenson and Muris side by side into Lecombe for the first time. We've got a yellow flag out on the circuit. Muris runs wide going through Lecombe, and we have had a we've had a couple of cars involved in some incidents. Looks like Van Druynen involved, the 156 also involved amongst others. I count 5 or 6 cars maybe. But at the moment, good start, and that was a good clean battle there between Boothby and Zimmerman going through into Eau Rouge and Radion. We now head to Marcel V, who is a little bit further back. He's down in 9th position at the moment, as now Banfield looking to go up the inside of Muris. And this is going through Pouhon, but at the moment Boothby stretches out an initial advantage, which looks to be the best part of half a second on this very first lap.
Yeah, absolutely. He's doing it, isn't he? I mean, Zimmerman gave it his best shot to get alongside him, but Boothby took the inside line and sort of defended the shortest route into the corner and through the corner, and there wasn't an awful lot more that Zimmerman could do. But what is going to get interesting is there's going to be a few guys, I think, have started on different strategies here, because you can see the track, although it's saying greasy, there's definitely a dry line there. So I think there might be a few guys will be suffering maybe with tyre temps as this session goes on because of that dry line, but certainly Boothby right now is stretching his legs and he's pulling away from Zimmerman. And to be fair, the top 3 are starting to break away from Muris in 4th.
Yeah, dramas for Tom van der Meer. Unfortunately, that's coming out of Pouhon, and it looks like drivers are already going in. Now, that was a Honda I think I spotted going in there, so that might have been Tim Muris. Sam Spenkelink going side by side with Wever. Whether as they go across the line, so Spenkelink up a position, stays in 5th place, as Arvin Nahm looking up the inside of Dave Jr. going through into La Source. That was very close indeed, but then behind them you've got Arvin Nahm, Yannick Valenduk, you've also got Clayton Barney, but Barney I think has got past Valenduk at the minute, or has he? So they come down the hill through into Eau Rouge, then up the hill into Radion. So Dave Jr. keeping ahead of Arvin Nahm. Yep, Yannick Valenduk is still ahead of Clayton Barney. Nard Cox in 11th. Tim Nyboer 2nd in semi-pro at the moment in the 622 Audi. 8/10 ahead of Tim Kroll in the 933 Lexus, as Junior puts the pedal to the metal. So it looks like Valenduk looking towards the outside of Arvin Nahm going through into Lecombe. Not too sure if he's made the move stick quite yet as he goes side by side, door panel to door panel. Oh, a bit of a wobble because there was a little bit of a touch between them, and that allows Clayton Barney to close on as they head down the hill through Malmedy and into the right-hander at Rivage, but Valenduk up the inside of Arvin Nahm. Oh, he clashes and he gets spun a little bit there. Oh, Yannick Valenduk went for the move and it didn't quite work out for the 301 from Team Rocket the Fast.
Yeah, no, that was a difficult one. They were sort of fighting for position. Just took a little bit of a knock, and in these conditions, it's even easier, should I say, to just lose a little bit of traction, lose control, and end up facing the wrong way. But Valenduk did well to hold on to that, and only lost maybe 2 or 3 positions. And he's back there fighting again. Already, he's regrouped, and he's looking to try and get past the Lexus in front, but while suffering to have to defend from the Mercedes behind. So he's still the meat eating a sandwich, although the bread is made of a different variety.
I like that terminology there, Steve, but you can see that Bart Svedink from Sim Racing Holland is now up ahead. There's Anthony Terhorst and Korn Septa. So this has changed for Yannick Valenduk, who was battling in the top 10, but Anthony Terhorst looking to get past the Lamborghini. as they go down the hill. Adam Banfield now ahead of Sem Spenkelink, so it's Porsche v Porsche, and they've just made their way, I think that is going through into Blanchemont. Spenkelink trying to go up the inside of Banfield and makes the move through. Banfield decides to drift a little bit wide, but as a result of that, Weber actually slingshots past before they've even hit the apex for the infield of the bus stop chicane. And then Banfield has now decided to go into the pits. Now, that says to me something, that have some of these drivers, Steve, chanced it on slicks because of it being a greasy track?
This is exactly what I was meaning earlier, Alex, when I said I think some of the guys are going to get caught out with that dry line. Although it is still racing and it's not going to get much drier, I think it's really going to be bordering on whether it's dry or wet tyres, and I think at the moment it's looking like it's probably faster lap times if you were on the dry tyres. I might be wrong. We can't really. It's a shame we don't know what tyres these guys are on. You know, it'd be good if we could have that information, but at the moment we don't have it. But yeah, there's a few guys, as you've said, have made the pit stops and for whatever reason and potentially swapped over onto tyres, so there's going to be a lot of guys out of position. There's going to be a lot of traffic for the front runners who are going to come across very soon, as you know, the pit stops here at Spa, they just eat so much time. It is such a long pit lane, as we just seen Dave Jr. there in that fantastic looking Merc, just holding on to that 5th place. He's lost a bit of ground now to Spenkelink, but Spenkelink, he started in 10th place, so he's gained 6 positions in 2 laps, so that's great driving from Spenkelink, and I suppose it's something we've come to expect from him.
Yeah, I think one of the good things is that the Porsche, in my honest opinion here, Steve, has a little bit of a trump card, and it's basically because of the fact it's the only rear-wheel drive car that has a rear-mounted engine. So even though it's 1,320 kilos, don't get me wrong, the heaviest car on the grid, in these wet weather conditions, if you've got quite a bit of weight over that rear axle, it can actually pay dividends. So that's why it's helping the likes of him. It's also helping Banfield. It's also helping Nard Cox. Well, Banfield now has exited the pit lane down in 30th position. But it's just shown that you put a Porsche on wet weather tyres at a track like Spa, it's going to revel in them.
Yeah, and the thing is with the tyres tonight, I mean, it's 53 minutes left to go. Banfield's cleared his pit stop, potentially changed tyres. He's going to be good to go to the checkered flag. So watch out for Banfield's name once all the other guys start making some pit stop. If he doesn't, as we see Simmers there with a drive-through, that must be for track limits already at this stage in the race. That's very, very early, as we're looking now at Workman looking to make a move on the Ferrari ahead. But yeah, I mean, Banfield might have played a trump card. There's Marcel V also has pitted and he's cleared. Those are 2 pretty quick guys, so if they can avoid traffic and avoid trouble, I expect to see them in the top 10, if not the top 6 towards the end of the race.
I'm going to add a 3rd driver to that, Tim Muris in the number 9 Honda. He pitted early as well, and we know that Tim Muris can be quick when he's on his best days. As now Sonnensino, Hans Werkman looking up the inside, going through La Source. They've got De Keyser, Treffers, Vanston, and Wieser just behind, as we've now got the battle for what is going to be 3rd place. Sem Spenkelink closing hand over fist, going through down the Kemmel Straight into Les Combes, round the outside of the 31, goes the 64 Porsche. That is an epic move, but has he pulled that off going through into Malmedy? No, he hasn't, because Dan Lenson keeps it planted. Spenkelink runs a little bit wide on the run down to Rivage, but great racing respect, and Spenkelink has got past him through pure traction, going through the first part of Rivage. Lenson closes up alongside, but for Pujol, Sem Spenkelink has done an absolute, I think that is one of the overtaking masterclasses this season, and of all the places to do it, Steve, at Spa.
Yeah, well, the thing is, if you were looking at Spenkelink's times as well, he is currently lapping round about a second or more faster than anybody else, and his last lap was actually 9/10 faster than the race leader Boothby. So that's telling me that Spenkelink's done something different with his setup coming out onto this track, and as you said, that Porsche is suiting these conditions to a T, because I mean the speed with which Spenkelink has gone from 10th to now 3rd, and he's not through other people having incidents. It's pure lap time. He's putting the laps in, he's catching the guys, and he's making the difference. This is absolutely Sem on fire.
I think I've got to say one thing, Simon Zimmerman, watch your 6. because there's someone definitely flying in a dark sky Porsche at the moment, even though the skies have opened and the heavens are literally throwing rainfall onto the track as we see Sorrentino being passed, I think maybe. Yep, Demian de Kaiser has got past, and that was actually on the run down towards Blanchimont, so good move there by Demian de Kaiser. Sorrentino in the Ferrari starting to struggle a little bit, and he's got the likes of Patrick Treffers, who has got now, who is that behind? That is the 145, that's Visa. You've got Patrick Vance as well, who tries to nearly lights up the rear tyres there going through the first part of the bus stop chicane and costs him time. So Visa closing on Treffers. Now I've just noticed Yannick Valenduk has dropped and he's gone into the pits with 50 minutes still to go. So Yannick Valenduk, who was at the sharper end of the field, Steve, now down in 26. Kuhn Scepter is also pitted. So I'm wondering whether they are the last, maybe the last handful of drivers that might have decided to go on slicks. I think Sorrentino in that Ferrari is struggling like crazy because he was nigh on sideways going through Redion just then.
Yeah, absolutely, but I mean, I'm not quite sure. Boothby must be watching the times and wondering what he needs to do, because again Spenkling was 2 or 3 tenths faster on the last lap compared to Boothby, and this is Spenkling's best lap so far is a 24.3 compared to George Boothby's 25.2, so he's 9 tenths faster on his best lap than the race leader at the moment, and on this lap he's already 4 tenths up on that best time, so he's looking to complete a 23 in race trim at the moment. He's already closed a gap of 2 seconds to Zimmerman, and very much looking like he's wanting that second place now, and Boothby's not that far up the road from Zimmerman, so with these lap times we're looking at Spenkling probably challenging for the lead, as we see Zimmerman just running a bit wide there, but he's defending now and just closing the door on Spenkling. He's not going to make it easy for him, and rightfully so, but I think Spenkling, when they get into the braking zones, as we've seen, he can drive around the outside. He just seems to have that grip, and he's got that traction and control, and it's very, very difficult to defend from. As he got in the inside line here, is he going to poke his nose up the inside? He's not quite far enough alongside, but he's going to drop back in behind, very, very close, and I think we're going to see him 2 by 2 into the braking zone here for the bus stop as they come towards the end of the straight now, and Spenkling's got the inside line, and I think that's it, job over. He's got second place, easier than I thought he would get it. Now he's going to be looking at Boothby, and what's going to be going through George Boothby's mind here now?
Oh, there's been a tangle behind, that looks like Lenson and Barney have come together. Dan Lenson and Clayton Barney have come together, and then we go to this other scrap that's happening. You've got the likes of Sorrentino, who's still battling up with the likes of Visa, who's gone up the inside of the 156 heading into the bus stop chicane. Visa literally shortcuts it, so he's got to give that place back to Sorrentino. That was a definite track cut there. So yeah, there was a definite moment that was involving the 24. That was, well, there's been an incident involving Van Druynen, I believe, as well. So this race has been thrown upside down and shaken on its head as Van Druynen now tries to get past Treffers as they head down the hill from La Source into Eau Rouge. But yeah, already look at the gap picture in picture of how Sem Spenkling has just pulled away from Simon Zimmerman. It's like the Nissan was standing still, as there goes Patrick Vance on Sorrentino for position. Now Van Mellis now trying to get past that looks to be Treffers, and the Lexus has already got the job done before they've even hit Lecombe. So yeah, it's been a bit of elbows out here at Spa, and that's something that we do kind of expect, but it hasn't been like elbows out where people have intentionally been taking each other out. But I think the biggest thing is that Dan Lenson is in the pits after a clash between him and it looked like that was Clayton Barney, so Barney's still in 6th position. But yeah, it's a race of survival, isn't it, here tonight, Steve?
Yeah, it is a race of survival. It is some great racing. We've seen some fantastic side-by-side stuff already, and we've got another 46 minutes of this to go. It's going to be very interesting, as I've said already, with the likes of Banfield, Marcel V, Muris. You know, they've all cleared their pit stops now, so depending, be interesting to see. I'll check in a minute what lap times they're doing compared to the leaders, because that's something that Boothby's going to have to keep his eye on as well, because if he stays out too long, we've seen an incident there. Who was that that's just gone off? Was that
That was Sorrentino again.
Sorrentino, was it? Yeah, I mean, we could see Boothby, you know, I mean, dare I say it, if he's on the wrong strategy or the wrong tyres, whatever, he's got something wrong with his setup that he's not able to maximise his lap times like Spenklink is, it might be that he gets jumped in the pit stops by Banfield and Marcel V and maybe even Muris, who knows?
Well, Spenklink's just done a 2:24.1. Boothby's just done a 2:25.4. So the overtake's not going to happen in the pit lane, Steve. I think it's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 laps. Because at the moment, Sem Spenklink is absolutely dragging that Porsche 911 GT3R by the scruff of its coattails and dragging it along for the ride. And now, there is Boothby. And there's Cornceptor in between the pair of them. So blue flag's being waved. Sem Spenklink is on an absolute binge of speed, and look, that gap was 1.8 seconds. That's less than a second now. That's probably going to be about 8 tenths. Be interesting to see what it will be on the second intermediate, and that will be going through just after Stavros. They're going to go down the hill into Rivage. Yeah, so Boothby, he's not got the 3000 IQ strat that Sem Spenklink has. So Boothby now knows it's a race against time, and when Spenklink is on his 6, Boothby now knows that it's either going to be one of two things. Is it going to be the case that I'm going to let him past and rework my strategy, or do I fight him? And if he starts fighting, look who's in third position, 2.5, well, who was 2.5 seconds off of Sem Spenklink, Dave Jr. So that could bring it maybe even the likes of Arwin Nam into it. As soon as they start battling, Steve, that's when everything kicks off. But then it's one thing to catch a driver, it's another thing altogether to pass them. But Sem Spenklink tonight could be the exception to that rule.
Yeah, and let's just see when Zimmerman exits the pits where in relation to Banfield he exits, because if we remember, Banfield was up in 4th, or was it even 3rd place before he took to the pit lane. He was coming under pressure from Spenklink, I think, for 3rd place. So it'd be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to that. That will give us an idea of what the pace differential is between these guys.
Yeah, so the two leaders now, nigh on line astern. How close was Sem Spenklink to the back bumper of George Boothby? Boothby now knows he's got a fight on his hands, and Sem Spenklink, who won back at Barcelona a month ago, or just over a month ago, he now is going for it. And look at the drive he's got out the bus stop. That is absolutely ridiculous. Sem Spenklink now, he's going to get the run down through into Eau Rouge, and look how close he is. You can't even split them. They're going to go, I cannot believe Sem Spenklink is going to go up the inside through into Eau Rouge. What's going to happen here at Radion through side by side? That was a little bit wide there for Spenklink, and if I'm honest with you, yeah, Boothby saying, no, you went wide, you need to give that place back. And Spenklink is actually slowing down. He's done exactly the right thing there, did Sem Spenklink. Thought that was going to be a bit too close for comfort there for Sem Spenklink, but now this gives him a second bite of the cherry, and he did exactly the right thing there, Steve. He decided, well, I knew it was going to be a problem. I went wide, I've got to let him have the place back.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy for us all to be armchair racers, isn't it, and have an opinion, but my opinion would be that Sem would be better to sit back there through Eau Rouge, because Boothby's not the kind of driver that's just going to give him that position. As we see Boothby struggling to get traction there, and that has opened the door and gifted the position to Spenklink there, who now takes a race lead. But yeah, I was going to say he was probably better off not attempting it through Radion, just staying really close up through Radion, through Eau Rouge, and then getting a drive out of Radion and onto Camel Straight, and maybe attacking the braking zone. But it's all irrelative now, because he's got the move done nice and cleanly on the second attempt, and he takes the race lead with 7 laps completed.
Yep, so 18 minutes and 23 seconds completed of this race. Sem Spenklink now on lap number 8 takes the lead. Dave Jr., I did say this might happen. Dave Jr. now closing in on Boothby. So is there a chink in the armour for the 666 Ferrari? Because now the Artworks Braun GP number 10 Mercedes is closing, and closing rapidly. Look at the pull that he's got. Now that's going through in towards Blanchimont. Dave Jr. now gets past George Boothby. So lightning has now struck twice for the 666, and he gets a bit of a run coming out of Blanchimont. But Dave Jr. just waited, bided his time, and made his move when it absolutely counted. And the two back markers, I will be honest there, have actually helped Spenklink and Boothby and Junior there a little bit. So George Boothby now has to throw in the 3,500 IQ strap to get back at them. Simon Zimmerman, in the meantime, the second highest placed driver that has already made their mandatory pit stop for tonight, currently in P20. I'm going to say that looks to be P20. So he's 3.5 seconds off of Adam Banfield in the number 4 Porsche.
So that
it looks like Aaron.
That pit strategy that has obviously got Banfield ahead of Zimmerman. It's got the jump on him because Banfield was a handful of seconds behind Zimmerman before he pitted, so he's really gained some time there, and that's cost Zimmerman a lot of time. So that question, then I throw that question back to you about Boothby. I mean, realistically, he's stayed out again. We've seen him stay out, and he's still circulating. But at this moment in time, you'd have to say it's costing him time hand over fist, and he's going to have a mountain to climb after he does pit.
Well, I'm just going to have a look in just a second because, well, Boothby's still out. Steve, his times are they're jumping off the cliff like a bunch of lemmings at the minute. 2 minute 29.1 for Boothby on the last lap. Boothby is struggling. You can see that because the back markers ahead are actually quicker than he is. I think one of them is Kuhn Scepter, if memory serves me correctly. Let me just have a quick look. That is the case, and Scepter is battling away. That looks to be with Sorrentino. This could get rather ugly rather quickly. I think Boothby's trying to nurse that car back because the gap between him and Dave Jr. is now 1.8 seconds. The gap between Spenklink and Jr. is about 1.2 as Sorrentino nearly hits the back part of Kuhn Scepter there, and that's going through into Stavlor. But yeah, Boothby struggling. That gap has started to expand, Steve. I think Boothby's got no other choice. I think he might need to pit.
Yeah, definitely, because like say Arwin Nan, he's not far behind and he's closing. He's getting ever close. There's the back markers in between him, but you can see him in the picture there, just at the far corner of the screen as we saw Boothby come round, and he's staying out. He's sticking to his strategy. It'd be interesting to see what his lap time is this time round, but he's still very much struggling as he does a 1:26.9 compared to the other guys. Spenklink 1:23.6 on his last lap, so he's very
too.
yeah, sorry. He's really struggling. He's just not on the pace, and it's something that needs to be rectified because it's going to really damage his race. I mean, he's got a healthy championship lead, so it's not going to really affect him too much in that respect. But we know it's all about winning. The track limits at Eau Rouge there are just totally disregarded, and I think we might see a few drive-throughs before this race is done.
Yeah, Sam Spenklink has done the all-time fastest lap of this evening so far, even faster than Boothby in qualifying, a 2 minute 23.691. The gap between him and Dave Jr. is now over 2 seconds as we are into double digits. So if you are watching on the YouTube channel, thank you very much for joining us. If you are enjoying what you're seeing, don't forget to give this video a like, as well as hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell, so at least you can be apprised as what is happening here on SRHI TV. And George Boothby now has Alvin Nam closing into the Lamborghini. Is getting quicker and quicker, and Alvin Nam was nearly 2 seconds quicker on the previous lap as they are making their way down through quite literally making their way through Pouhon at the minute. So Boothby is driving with a wounded Ferrari at the moment.
Yeah, and if you look at the gaps, down to sort of crawling 7th place, everybody's under a second behind each other. So it's not going to get any better, any quicker for Boothby. These cars are just going to keep coming at him, and then it's going to be one after the other, and then finding their way past. And at the moment, who would have thought we'd have said it, but it seems to be turned into the George Boothby train.
Oh yeah, forget Jarno Trulli. And that's saying a lot right there and then. But yeah, it's interesting how that has completely changed the dynamic of this race. I mean, we know that Boothby is a very, very talented individual, and very, very well known within the streaming community. But I think what he's now doing,
he's going to the.
You've got to look at it from. Oh, he's gone into the pits. So he was listening to us, but probably decided, yeah, I'll do it a lap later. So they can't guess when I'm going in. But still, to try and stay out there for that long, that's now changed everything, because now that is Boothby in the pit, so he's going to go right towards the... It's a long pit lane here at Spa-Francorchamps, and you know, it's you enter from where the Formula 1 side is, and then it all goes all the way round through La Source, so it is an incredibly long pit lane. So now Boothby...
What we've got on the main screen, Alex, is a battle for third place here. It's very close as well.
Oh, now hang on a second. We've got quite a few cars. We've got Arvin Nahm, Tim Nyboer, who's the leading semi-pro driver, Clayton Barney, Tim Kroll, Nard Cox, amongst others. Oh, now this is getting rather feisty, as Boothby making his way down the pit lane. It is a very long trundle down there, as Clayton Barney runs a little bit wide, and that was going down the hill, coming through the left-hander after Rivage. Now Boothby is in the pits. It looks like that is possibly Aaron van Drooyen maybe in the pit lane, I think.
Potentially on the colours, yeah, it looks like it could be.
So van Drooyen in the pits as well. But this battle for what is third on the road. But Tim Nyboer showing that the semi-pros can battle away with the pros. And Tim Kroll also showing some good speed there as well.
It's Boothby's now Boothby.
The pits. Yeah, yep. Boothby's coming out of the pit lane. Sorry about that, Steve.
It's okay. Great minds think alike, buddy. Great minds think alike. But Boothby, it's going to be very interesting now to see where he filters back into this pack, and we'll keep a close eye on it as the timing updates, and just see where he slots in. Because now what we may see is a bit of a comeback drive from George Boothby. He's got 33 minutes left on the clock now to drive as hard and fast as he can and make as many places back up as he can, because he's going to be even when Spenklink and them do their pit stops, he's going to be behind them.
Yeah, but he's actually come out behind Banfield and Zimmerman. Oh, now there's been an incident. There's just been an incident, and that could have been... That's one of the Lexus cars. So Arvin Nahman's gone into the pits. Dave Jr. has gone into the pits from second on the road. So it was the 933. Oh, Tim Kroll was involved, and also the 156 was involved there as well. Oh my goodness, that was Sebastian Sorrentino. So Sorrentino was out of position, I believe. And yeah, Tim Kroll has just been given the turnaround. As there's Tim Nyboer, he's got Clayton Barney, both of them nearly exceeding track limits with such vulgarity right there. And then you've got Sorrentino still battling away. That will be with Kuhn Scepter in the 32 Audi. So I think whilst they were battling away, they were closing. Well, Tim Kroll, I think, got a bit of a concertina effect, and all of a sudden he got turned around. So, and he's now nearly 6 seconds off of Clayton Barney, who's trying to close in on Tim Nyboer. And that is Bart Svidink, I believe, just up ahead in the number 12 car from Sim Racing Holland. So he's gone out of the way rather sharpish, as the blue flags now have been retracted. So Tim Nyboer from Team Rocket the Furious in the number 622 Audi. Now that was a little bit wide, coming out of the corner. That would have been possibly through Pouhon. So they will now make their way down the circuit. Wipers still on full chat. The track has not evolved really. It stayed greasy for pretty much the entire race so far, as we have just under 32 minutes of round 6 GT3 season 3 here at Spa-Francorchamps still to go, and with a whole host of drivers: Demian de Kaiser, Simon Pike, Patrick Treffers, all in the pits right now. And that is going to allow the likes of Banfield, Zimmerman and Boothby, Neuris, Vester, amongst others. So we're going to go to a replay here now. This is Sorrentino. That is not what he wants. Oh, he's just literally... Tim Kroll's just gone to turn in. Sorrentino has tried to do the old Danny Rick send there on Kuhn Scepter, and it didn't quite work out, Steve.
Absolutely not, no. He was attempting it. I mean, from the outside there looking in, initially you would have wondered where that incident came from, but it was just a lot quite a bit too much ambition, I think, rather than enough traction and grip to pull it off. I won't say skill because that'd be disrespectful, but definitely too much ambition, as we're just seeing the 622 Audi come into the pit stop now and make a stop. So yeah, we're about halfway through, so those guys that decided that they wanted to stay out, thought they were on the right strategy, are now coming into the pits and making their stops. So hopefully the leaderboard is going to sort itself out. We're going to see a lot of green columns filled in there on the right hand side of the race number, which indicates that everybody will have completed their mandatory stops, and as commentators that will give us a good idea of how everything shakes out and makes things easy for us. But as we've said many times, I've lost count how many times we've said it, the pit stops here are deadly. That pit lane is such a long pit lane, and constantly we're seeing track limits cut, and I think we're going to see a few drive-throughs, and a drive-through at Spa, it has to be said, is just, it's not what you want. It's going to ruin your race. It's just going to add so much time to your lap, and it's going to wreck any chances you've got of a high finishing position here. But we've got Muris now in 15th place, who has completed his lap. He's battling with Nam. This is a positional battle on track. This is relative. This is real, and they're going hammer and tong now within within half a second of each other.
Well, one of the things that I have just noticed, Steve, is the battle between Dave Jr., Adam Banfield, Simon Zimmerman and George Boothby. Now that is going to be for what is effectively 9th on the road. So Dave Jr. has got the jump on Zimmerman, Banfield and Boothby during the pit stop phase. They're now coming through La Source as we're with Tim Muris. As he makes his way through to La Source, he's got Arvin Nam in the number 5 Lamborghini just behind. So just over half of the race completed, and we still have quite a few drivers yet to pit, which will include the likes of Spanklink. We'll also have the 85 McLaren of Clip Barney, the 933 of Tim Kroll. Nybo has already pitted anyway, and he's in P9, as Muris and Narn going toe-to-toe down the Kemmel Straight, having come through Radior. Now it's the run down to Licom. The Lamborghini pulls to the left-hand side of the Honda NSX, but Tim Muris keeps the racing line. Oh, that's very close indeed between the pair of them as they go side by side through into Licom, but Arwin Num just literally threads the eye of the needle past Tim Muris. That was absolutely close as ever I saw it, but that was a hell of an overtake from Arwin Num on Tim Muris, as there is Adam Banfield. He's got George Boothby closing in on him, and Boothby has been running in the 2:23.5s. So he's gone quicker than he did in qualifying. So Boothby has now got a very alive and very well working Ferrari underneath him.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to be interesting to see at the end of this first flying lap for Boothby what his lap time is. But it has to be said, on Banfield he was a good couple of seconds behind him, but he's really closed that gap down now. He's within, well, each visual he's within a second, he's within touching distance, and he's certainly within striking distance, that's for sure, because we know Boothby's capable. Banfield he's brand new to the championship, but I recognise the name from old, and I have seen Banfield racing, and he's no slouch. But it's going to be interesting. He's got a baptism of fire here now with the championship leader looking to go through on the inside, and I think he's got the position, so I think he's got that job done already. He might just have to defend it now into the braking zone coming into the bus stop, but at the moment that looks like 1-0 to Boothby there. He's got that position back.
Yep, notch on the tomahawk there, Steve, I think is another terminology I use. So he's managed to get Banfield out of the way. Now he's got to start storming forward. Just seen that Tim Vandermeer unfortunately is now deciding to he's signed out for the rest of the season, so it's a real shame for the Pulse Motorsport B 888 car. So Banfield, and there you can see just up ahead, I've noticed both Zimmerman and Junior, they are within half a second of each other, as the Nissan and the Mercedes have just gone through Radiant. You can see now Boothby has got a car underneath him that he needs. Banfield just that was a massive track cut there from him, and now the fact that Martin van der Klaan and Tim Kroll are in the pits, that means that this will be as you can now see, Zimmerman has been passed by Dave Jr., and that was literally pure grunt from that Mercedes 6.2 litre V8 naturally aspirated engine. pushing over 650 newton meters of torque through the rear axle. Dave Jr. got the jump on Simon Zimmerman, and boy did he make that look effortless as Nard Cox and Dan Lenson come together going through Lecombe, and Anthony Terhorst is trying not to make a meal of it, and he's going to try and get past, if he can, Lenson as they head down into Rivage, and he gets round the outside of the Ferrari, runs wide, trying to make the move, and Terhorst is getting a bit squirrely, putting on the power as well coming out of that corner.
Is squirrely another terminology for he's squirrely and frustrated and put himself in the wall there, so that's very unfortunate and not what he wanted to do at that point. But when you said squirrely, I thought it was looking a little bit like he was getting frustrated and he wanted to be past these boys, but too much right foot, not enough traction at the rear end, and that's him into the wall, so that's going to be an early bath for the Mercedes, it would look. But look at Spenklink, he's cleared his pit stop now, come back out in 5th place, but when you look down the right hand times, the differences between cars, he's potentially got what you would say is a clear 3-second lead at the moment, but you look back from Spenklink to where Boothby is, and that's a relatively healthy lead, dare I say it, at the moment, round about 6 or 7 seconds, but it just depends on the pace of Boothby. What can Boothby do? If Boothby can get back up into that top 3 and indeed challenge Spenklink for the victory, it will be one of the best comeback drives we've seen potentially.
Yeah, very true, but as they say, the proof is in the pudding, and we'll just have to wait for the next 24 and a half minutes to find out, as Nard Cox and Dan Lenson still battling away over 14th position, as we see that Joris Everleens and Patrick Vance have now pitted. So Boothby is he's just gone purple in sector 2. My goodness me, a 1 minute 3.1 on the second sector, the longest sector here at Spa-Francorchamps, and he was 9/1000ths quicker than Simon Zimmerman, as now Jordi Bakker is in the pits as well. So this is going to change everything. So this will put Boothby in what will, well, let's see, that puts him in effectively a de facto 4th position. So this now puts him 3.3 seconds behind Zimmerman, and that could mean that if Boothby starts winding up the wick on that Ferrari, I think Simon Zimmerman will have to watch himself. So instead of Boothby watching his 6, it'll be Zimmerman doing that kind of thing right there and then. So yeah, it's all about the pace that Boothby needs to bring to the table. We just need to find out and wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely, but his pace, his last lap, was just as quick as Spenklink's fastest lap. So he's certainly got the pace of Spenklink, because Spenklink, I don't think, he's just pitted, he's come back out, so his last lap was a 3 minutes 50 with the pit stop included, obviously. His best lap was a 2:23.69. Boothby's last lap was a 2:23.619. So yeah, Boothby's already beaten Spenklink's best lap time so far tonight. And it's going to be interesting to see what Boothby can do, and if he can maintain that pace. He's got to get past 2 more cars in front. There's 2 cars between himself and Spenklink, but if he can do that, then we could have race on. He's got 22 minutes left to do it, plenty of time, and the track conditions aren't really changing. The rain is forecast for the next 30 minutes, so it's going to be like this to the end of the race, so I don't see anything really changing that the guys are going to have to account for. It's just going to be flat out racing now, and Boothby, as we know, is consistent, so he's going to have his head down and he's going to put those laps in, and he can see Zimmerman ahead of him there as they're both in the same picture. But not only is Zimmerman in the same picture, Dave Jr. for 2nd place, and there we've got Spenklink just down the road. So the top 4 now are all pretty much just about in the same camera shot.
You know what's even more interesting? Sam Spenklink's just put in a 2:23.184. Oh my goodness me. If Boothby was putting on a masterclass in qualifying, the one that's definitely got the pace in the race, that's definitely Sam Spenklink, but Boothby's now got that gap down to just under 2.9 seconds. Well, actually, that looks to be a little bit closer, because now Boothby's just gone in and put in a personal best, a 2 minute 23.361 in the Ferrari. We're on lap number 16. Yellow flag's briefly out for a moment, but retracted. And Zimmerman starting to close in. Here's a battle here. Oh my goodness, that is looking very, very racy, and that looks to be Klaus Vester, Nard Cox, and Dan Lenson. That's going through into Lecom. Oh, Lenson goes wide coming through Lecom, and he's actually gained a little bit of an advantage there, but he's let Klaus Vester go back up to the inside, giving them the position back, and now has started to reassert himself as Nard Cox looks around the outside of Dan Lenson. That's going through Rivage, and now into the left-hander here. Oh, it's getting rather close because there's battles up and down the order. Tim Nybo is actually closing on Clayton Barney at the moment for 6th position. So there are battles up and down the order, every which way you look. And we are not done yet. We've got 20 minutes and 40 seconds still to go. And at the minute, Spenkelink leads by 3.8 seconds from Dave Jr. Simon Zimmerman, a further 9/10 of a second adrift in 3rd place. George Boothby starting to charge, now just over 2.6 seconds behind Simon Zimmerman. And we've got Adam Banfield, who joined us for this evening. He's ahead of Clayton Barney. They're separated by just over half a second. Tim Nyboer, the leading semi-pro driver, so it could be a different semi-pro winner this time around here at Spa-Francorchamps. Arwin Nam, Tim Muris, Klaus Vester. And then we've got Dan Lenson and Nard Cox in this trio that you got here. And just behind them I can see Dennis Werkman in the 444 Lexus in the background. So whilst these three are battling away, Werkman could be closing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all out now. Everything's on the line with these three guys. They're all so close. And as you say, we've got Workman catching as well. This is going to be a four-way battle. They're just getting a little bit squirrely in the old Lexus there as he got the power down. But these Cox and Lenson are spending more time side by side than they are line astern at the moment. They're literally every single braking zone. They're going side by side, showing great respect, great control, running over track limits a little bit. I'd be very worried about if they're keeping the foot in. They will be getting a warning for track limits, but let's just watch them now as they go through Radion now. Line astern, and that Porsche just trying to hang on to the back of the Ferrari now, and he'll look to pick up a toe, but I'm not sure he's close enough to get a good enough toe to get alongside the Camel Straight. It's going to be line astern into the braking zone, and as you were, I think the Porsche is gaining the most advantage through the twisty stuff, through the mid part of the lap, and that's where he seems to be able to put the Ferrari under the most pressure. But nobody's he's getting away from anybody in this battle, and as we say, every single corner, look at Workman, how much he's closed up on the back of them now. This is now indeed a four-way scrap.
Yeah, and it looks like there has been a little bit of an incident involving, well, I'm just going to have a look here. Looks like Banfield and Nybo are having a little bit of a clash, and they are battling over what is 6th position, but Nybo is leading the way in terms of the semi-pro side of things, and yeah, quite a very different side, as you can now see that Simon Zimmerman has closed once again on Dave Jr. The gap between them is just about 0.4 of a second, but Boothby has gone quicker still, and he's 1.8 seconds behind. And in the picture-in-picture, you've got Dennis Werkman, and that is Dan Lenson, and Werkman up the inside. Lenson runs wide and allows the Lexus to get through. But going through in towards the bus stop chicane, the heavy braking zone. Simon Zimmerman hard on the brakes, late on the brakes, going through towards the outside. Is he going to try and get the inside on Dave Jr.? Will Dave Jr. have a problem with traction coming out of the bus stop chicane? He does. Zimmerman now powers out of the corner, but Jr. starting to fight back as they head down into T1, through into La Source, and now Boothby is with them. Three-way scrap for 2nd position, and if Boothby gets past the pair of them in front of him, he has an opportunity to start going after Sem Spenkelink.
Absolutely, it's definitely a three-way battle now again, and Boothby there, just that's got to be close to track limits there again, with the Ferrari just at the top of the hill there as he came all four wheels off, and I think all four wheels off the rumble strip even, but he's well and truly in the slipstream of Zimmerman now, and Junior looking to go to the inside, and I think he's defending from two cars now as Boothby's bang up the inside there, forces Zimmerman off wide. I think Zimmerman should be able to rejoin in front of Boothby, and Boothby does the decent thing there, just a little bit of a misunderstanding as they were both side by side and both probably focused very much on Junior ahead, but all's fair in love and war, and they're now back at it, back on the track. That has given Junior a little bit of breathing space now, but I think definitely Zimmerman will be looking to close that gap up if he can. One eye forward, one eye back, as Boothby's very much looming large in his rearview mirror now, and Boothby, it has to be said, has got the pace on these two guys. He's closed the gap down, no disputing that, but he's now got to make that overtake.
Yeah, very much the case, but now Boothby really winding up the wick. He's carrying that momentum through and looked up the inside there, going into the right-hander. Did George Boothby, but rather quickly did Simon Zimmerman get back in front and stayed on the racing line through into the next couple of right-handers. So this is where it's going to be rather interesting from our perspective in the commentary box as we now go on board the rear roof cam of the Nissan running the GT Sport Motul Team RJN colours. Team RJN now aligned with Jenson Button in British GT these days. But you can just see that Boothby is trying to get the run on the Nissan, but with just over 15 minutes to go, Sam Spenklink's lead now has extended to the best part of just over 5.2 seconds as now these drivers make their way out of the bus stop chicane. Funnily enough, the gap is now absolutely rocketed up. A 2-minute 23.241 second lap time from Sam Spenklink has just extended his lead to just under 7.4 seconds. So I think now the focus for Boothby, it either has to be the final step or the runner-up step on the rostrum. Now I think his chance for first might have already gone by the wayside after what happened through Le Combe the previous time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Spenklink's the man with clear air in front of him. He's the one that can concentrate on his own race. These guys now, well, these two, Boothby and Zimmerman, are definitely concentrating on each other at the moment. We've got Junior up ahead who needs to really get his head down and try and gap these two while they're battling a little bit. Give himself a bit more breathing space between them. As Zimmerman's now really trying hard to defend.
Yeah, but Boothby still very much on full attack. And you can just see how close that Ferrari is getting to the back bumper of the Nissan as they head down the hill. And this is where things could get rather interesting, because now Dave Jr. has a lead of just over 9/10 of a second as Boothby looking up the inside. This is going through Pouon. It looks like Boothby's got the run. He's got the job done. Nicely done there by George Boothby. He did the right thing. That was probably just over a lap and a half that he waited until he got that opportunity. And to be honest with you, Simon Zimmerman actually gave him pretty good racing room and racing respect. That is the kind of calibre that we expect, and the fact that they can provide brilliant entertaining battles even with just over 13 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock still to go.
Yeah, speaking as a driver, you know, I mean, you want to win every position, you want to battle for every place, but may it be going through Zimmerman's head that Boothby, okay, he's got the pace on me, we've got 13 minutes left of this race, and we've got Junior ahead. If I can let Boothby past and hang on to the back of him as much as possible, when it comes to attacking Junior, but Zimmerman could still end up on that podium with third place.
I think you're very right there. You're very, very right indeed. So, you know, it's more a case of just strategizing, because at the end of the day, Zimmerman has shown good performances before, but he hasn't had Lady Luck on his side, and now there is a little bit of luck coming to him. But also George Boothby, I'm just going to keep on his lap. Well, need I say any more about this? George Boothby, a 2-minute 24.336. Simon Zimmerman's lap time last time around was 2-minute 25.698, over 1.3 seconds quicker. And Boothby not only was quicker than Zimmerman by that amount, he was quicker than Junior by nearly 7/10 of a second. So Dave Jr. is now going to be seeing that he's going to get an eyeful in his rearview mirrors of a Scarlet Red Ferrari very, very shortly.
Yeah, but it's exactly as you said as well, with Spenklink up in the front. I mean, that gap's now extended out to 9 seconds because he did a 2:23.3, which is very close to his best lap. He's lapping consistently, but more importantly, he's lapping very, very quickly. And Sem's doing what he needs to do. He's just keeping his head down, keeping out of trouble, and more importantly, keeping that Porsche on the top step of the podium at this moment in time. So Junior now, he's in that second place, but he's got Boothby less. Well, he will be less than a second behind him, I think, now, with Zimmerman trying to hang on. The gap has extended out a bit, so Zimmerman needs to sort of get his focus. But what will be happening inside Dave Junior's car now is he will be starting to think about his defence against Boothby. At this moment in time, he's too far away to have to worry too much about defending, but he's still got to keep his lines. He's got to hit every apex, every braking point, drive the optimal line, and get as much traction and grip out of that car as he can to get that right foot planted and try and maintain that gap and keep those lap times up to make it as difficult as possible for Boothby. But Boothby's doing a fantastic job now, as we can see the gap on the relative on your timing towers come down to around about 6/10, and closing, it has to be said, and I expect Boothby to take a big chunk of time out of him in the braking zone here as well now, so that we may see them very, very close on this next lap up through Radion and the Camel Straight. I think they could be nose to tail, and we might see some slipstreaming from the Ferrari.
Yeah, as Sam Spenklink exits out of La Source, and the number 64 Dark Sky Racing Porsche 911 GT3R makes its way down towards Eau Rouge and then to Radion, as Boothby and Junior now battling away over second position overall, with just 10 minutes on the clock to go here at round 6 of 9 for GT3 Season 3 Sprint Series here at Sim Racing Hub International. As both Junior and Boothby fully committed, going through Eau Rouge and then through Radion, and along the Camel Straight they go. Very lengthy part of the circuit here, where they're pushing over 250 kilometers an hour at points, obviously depending on the weather conditions, but George Boothby later on the brakes than Dave Junior. Gap now down to what is effectively just under 6/10 of a second, and dropping, because now they go down the hill. They've gone through Malmedy, now into Rivage. So the 180 degree right hand hairpin before the left at No Name. It isn't a named corner, so we're going to call it No Name for the benefit of the doubt. But you can see here, Steve, again, even though Spenklink has got away and he's running away with the tumbleweeds like in a Wild West action movie, Boothby's done a really good job to recover from a little bit of I think it was more a case of a bit of a faux pas. Maybe there may not have been something set up completely right on that car, but now that he's got that car well and truly under him, it's been a fantastic drive from him.
Yeah, I think what we'll find if we get the chance to interview him at the end, I think we'll find it was probably a tyre choice. He was probably on the wrong tyres because there was a big lap time difference, and the track, even though it's still greasy, it's gone a lot lighter shade of grey, which usually means it's a lot drier. The track, they've got rid of a lot of the damp patches, although it's still relatively wet. It's raining. It's you can definitely see the dry lines, and on the wet tyres they will be struggling, as we're just seeing here. A bit of a three-way battle as we see. Jordi Bakker, I think it is, going down a place again.
No, he's actually getting past the back marker, it looks like.
Yeah, just moving forward. But yeah, Muris is having a strong race in 14th place, good result from him. But more importantly, I say this with respect, but more importantly, up at the front, Boothby still not really closed that gap up to Junior, and Zimmerman is dropping back. He's dropping further back, so I think we've seen the best from Zimmerman earlier on, and he's just settling for that position now. I think maybe he's obviously, Boothby's tyres are a lot newer than these guys, because some of these guys pitted a lot earlier than Boothby did, so he's still got relative pace. But what is and Spenklink, obviously his tyres are relatively new as well, because he was on the right tyres to start with, and he didn't have to pit until halfway through the race, so that's why he's still putting in his last lap was a 23.2. Boothby's last lap was a 24.2, so Spenklink's still lapping a second faster than Boothby in third place, so he's extended that lead out to Junior by 10.5 seconds now. So I think Spenklink, obviously we can say with 7 minutes to go, it's his race to lose, but Junior's doing a good job. He's responded to Boothby passing Zimmerman, and he's not caving in, as we see Boothby just running a little bit wide there, just sort of overshooting the apex a little bit, but nothing too drastic. But that won't help him in his attack on Junior at the moment, as we see that gap's pretty stagnant, round about just under a second all the time. It's to-ing and fro-ing between 7/10 and a second, so it's not coming down anymore. It's just staying where it is. So Junior seems to have at this moment in time, dare I say it, Junior seems to have the measure of Boothby's pace.
Yeah, and when you look at it, the other two drivers in the top three, apart from Boothby, neither of them started on the front row. Sam Spanklink was on the outside of row 5, so P10. Dave Jr. P8. And then I've also been looking at what's been happening in Pro-Am, semi-pro, my apologies. Tim Neubauer started 13th, he's currently P6. Dennis Werkman has gone from 31st on the grid to a genuine 10th position. And then Yodi Baka in the number 99 started P20, dropped down the order, and then is now back up to 14th position. And that's the battle in the picture-in-picture, because that is Yodi Baka and Tim Muris as we head into the last 5.5 minutes of this race here at Spa-Francorchamps, here on SRHI TV. The stream is brought to you courtesy of SimSport Solutions, with myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and Steve Proudley, your official commentators for tonight's proceedings. As we can see now that Muris is being closed in on by Barker, but look behind, there's the 253, that is Martin van der Kraan. And van der Kraan actually qualified, I think, fairly well. 19th position, so he's up 4 places. As now van der Kraan looking towards the inside, he does the old Nigel Mansell dummy on Jordi Bakker, trying to go through into the bus stop chicane, and there's Demian de Kaiser, I believe, just behind them. So that's literally a 3-way scrap over what is 14th position. And as they say, Steve, always save the best till last.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I mean, it's battling all over the place. It's been a good race this evening. It's not just been racing on the track though. It's, as we've seen, it's strategy calls. Its initial its initial tyre choice, I think, for the start of the race as well, with the conditions. We did say right at the beginning of the race those cars were up on jacks a long time on the grid. There was a lot of people making last-minute decisions and last-minute changes to their setups, and for some of them, like Sam Spenklink, it's worked, and for others like George Boothby, I won't say it hasn't worked, it's just made it harder work for him than would have normally been. He's really is, he's just on the picture-in-picture there, he's really struggling to catch up to Dave Jr. at the moment, and that gap is just under that second mark, but he just can't get any closer really than 7 or 8 tenths behind him, and he's certainly not close enough to make a move at the moment. So his time is ticking down. We've got 3 minutes and just under 50 seconds left on the clock, so a couple more laps and it's all going to be over, Alex, and he's Boothby's running out of time quickly.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't think. I think you, like you say, being a driver. I'm not a driver. I just happen to love talking about racing. One of the things that I've noticed is that, yeah, as you said earlier, everyone's got that determination, that will to win, but then it doesn't always go your way. There's always something that puts a spanner in the works, and you just think, I need to learn from this, and that's what these drivers will do. No driver is perfect. Everyone will learn from a certain situation, and I'm sure that George Boothby will learn from this, and he'll go, you know what, at least I know for next time if I'm racing at Spa how I can tackle it if we've got this particular situation going on. As we head into the last 2 minutes and 55 seconds, and at the moment Sam Spanklink is now making his way down the Kemmel Straight as Boothby and Junior make their respective way through Eau Rouge and up to the top of the hill at Hadillon. Watch out for those track limits, George. Oof, that was close. But yeah, that's one of the biggest places where you can actually get caught out for track limits, isn't it, Steve? There and Blanchimont, amongst other places.
Yeah, I mean, absolute respect to these drivers, because I've in particular been banging on about track limits all night long. But to be fair, respectively, we haven't seen that many drive-through penalties being issued. So these guys obviously are managing to keep it within the limits of the rules and keep enough wheels on the track or close enough to the track or lift. Potentially, you can avoid a drive-through penalty if you do run a little bit wide if you just lift off the throttle ever so slightly, so you're not gaining an advantage. That's what the algorithm is basically. If you gain an advantage, it will give you a penalty, a warning. But if you don't gain any time, then there's no warning. So obviously when we're seeing some of the cars running very wide and thinking that's a warning, then potentially it might not be if they're just easing out of the throttle a little bit. But yeah, respect to everybody, because in greasy, wet conditions it's all too easy to hit those curbs and just drift a little bit wide and pick up those warnings hand over fist and have drive-throughs left, right and centre. But the whole grid's been relatively clean this evening, and also we haven't seen that many incidents. I've not picked up on them. I've not had to show too many replays this evening. I think we've only shown one replay this evening, which is respect to everybody, because the battles we've been focusing on, the drivers we've been seeing, it's all been pretty clean. We've seen a little bit of door rubbing here and there, but generally it's we've seen positions given back when they've been taken, maybe overtakes off track and things like that. So great respect from all the drivers. But yeah, Boothby at the moment pushing and just pushing as hard as he can. As we can see, the lines he's taking, he really I think he's still attacking. As you say, he'll go away from this, he'll learn a lesson from it. They're all very intelligent drivers, and it's all part of that racecraft, isn't it? He's knowing when sometimes that position ahead maybe is just out of reach. This is a championship, let's settle for the points where I am now and not risk throwing it all away. But I think at this moment Boothby's still attacking.
Yeah, well, as we say that, Sem Spenkelink heads through into Eau Rouge and Radion for the 25th and final time, and at the end of this race will have completed just north of 175 kilometres of this 7.004 kilometre circuit here at Spa-Francorchamps. So you can see that Boothby is still pushing like a whirling dervish. He's still trying to go after Dave Jr., but I think Dave Jr. has pretty much got this in the bag, as the timer now is about to expire as we see Sem Spenkelink head through Malmedy. Timer has hit 0. This is the 25th and final lap, and now Boothby knows he's effectively got his hurry up sign, because he'll have seen that the counter will have struck 0, and now he knows he's only got probably the best part of 4 and a bit kilometres to try and get past Dave Jr. But Dave Jr. has been absolutely soaking up the pressure like a washing up sponge, as here is Sem Spenkelink, one back at Barcelona on the 30th of March. That was around about probably about 5 weeks ago, and he is about to help his championship hopes no end. We will go to Imola in 2 weeks' time on the 18th of May for the 7th round of the season. But here, one driver, it might have been a dark sky ahead, but he's definitely made sure that he's shined brighter than anyone else this evening. As Sem Spenkelink makes his way through, he's going to start making his way through towards Blanchimont very shortly, as Boothby closing on Junior. That's going to go down to the wire there, and Boothby's got a good run. As Spenkelink comes through the exit of Blanchimont and now into the bus stop chicane. Not too far behind, a couple of corners back or so, are Junior and Boothby, but out of the final corner, the checkered flag for the second time this season. It waves for Dark Sky Racing. Sem Spenkelink, after 25 laps, as Boothby went for it, but he's come a cropper and he's nearly ended up spinning up the rear end, and that could have allowed Clayton Barney to close up, but Dave Jr. hits the runner-up step on the rostrum. Boothby takes third, Clayton Barney takes fourth, and it's a new winner in Pro-Am. Tim Nyboer in the 622. Team Rocket, the Furious Audi, takes 5th position, and with it takes the category victory. Arvin Nam in 6th, Simon Zimmerman down in 7th position. Nard Cox will hopefully come across the line very shortly. He will finish in 8th place, and it looks like Dennis Werkman has stayed ahead of Adam Banfield and takes the checkered flag 2nd in semi-pro and 9th in the running order of things. Well, would you believe it? And Jordi Barker will round out the top 3 in semi-pro as he finishes behind Tim Uris, as Martin van der Kraan will finish behind Demian de Keyser, who rounds out the top 15. Tim Kroll in 17th. Simon Pike and Joris Everleens will round out the top 19 positions. Real shame for Yannick Velenduk, who had that drama earlier on in the race and from then his race was sealed in obscurity, unfortunately. But winning here at Spa-Francorchamps as Sebastian Sorosino crosses the line. Our winners in Pro and Semi-Pro, it is Sem Spenkelink from Dark Sky Racing, and then also the 622 of Tim Nyboer rounding out the top 5. Who'd have thunk that, Steve, after 60 minutes of tenderhook style racing here at Spa-Francorchamps?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, some great racing, but it'd be interesting to know what happened to Zimmerman there. I apologise, I missed that. I just did see him dropping down the board, but wasn't quite sure why he dropped down the board. So it would be interesting, yeah, definitely to get a handle on that and see what's gone on.
Yeah, so we are waiting for some drivers hopefully to come in and have a chat after what has been a rather interesting race. Obviously, big thank you to you all watching at home that have been able to join us here. But just really, I think the biggest talking point is that George Boothby, he hasn't had the perfect season, but someone like Sem Spenkelink has now put himself in prime position for maybe even going up against Niels van der Kerkelt when we go to Imola in a couple of weeks' time, wouldn't you say, Steve?
Oh yeah, very much so. I mean, it's been some fantastic racing, and Sem's proved time and time again that he's got the racecraft, he's got the skill level. He's had some unlucky races where he's been caught up in incidents. He just needs to maybe try and improve in some sessions on his qualifying. Although we have seen some good qualifying from him tonight. 10th place wasn't possibly the best he could have done, but it was good enough for him. I think there was a few people, like we say, out on the wrong tyres, and Sem took advantage of that, and his consistency tonight was fantastic. Those lap times he was putting in, lap after lap after lap, absolutely top draw stuff. And his lead never, once he got to the front, it was never in doubt really. I mean, we did think at one point, Boothby's maybe going to have the pace, but within a lap or two we saw the lap times, and Spenkelink was still putting in faster lap times. He could respond when he needed to, and he had the pace and the lap times in the bag, as it were, so to speak, and he just did what he needed to do and extended it out into double figures. His gap at the end, it was a fantastic drive, very measured, very controlled, and a great result and a great win.
Well, speaking of Sem Spenkelink, let's bring in the man himself. So, Sem, firstly, fantastic race. Congratulations. Started on the outside of row 5, P10, and you won by 11.3 seconds. You must be feeling on cloud 9 right now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That was an amazing race, especially the first stint. I was just fighting all over to get all the way back from P10. It was kind of my decision in quali to not push too hard on the wets, but just try what the dries would do. That didn't work for me in quali, but it gave me the confidence on the dries. So I think that really helped me in the race.
And we saw that both yourself and George were literally going to town. I mean, we saw you guys hit the low 2-minute 23s, which in these kind of conditions was absolutely crazy. But that Porsche, I mean, we saw that brilliant, that brilliant battle with yourself and Dan Lenson through multiple corners, and then you managed to nail it going through Pouhon. I mean, that car was hooked up big time. The big question I need to ask is, how did you manage that? Because both myself and Steve, we were like Jim Carrey from The Mask. Both our jaws were dropping on the ground when we saw it happen.
Yeah, the fight with Dan was absolutely epic. I think it was all the way from entering Les Combes to almost near Pouhon. So that was absolutely stunning. I enjoyed that a lot, and I'm sure Dan did too. Not quite sure how I stuck it around the outside. I was playing with the throttle a lot to get the car to go around the corner. Of course, with the Porsche you can push it through the corners quite a bit, but it was tricky on the wet line, of course. But in the end, I could take by just keeping the outside, and then that turned into the inside, of course, onto the straight.
I have to say this. I have to say this as the broadcast producer tonight. Just as you were commentating through that, it was on the screen on the highlights package. So your timing, not only in the race but on commentary, there was absolutely impeccable. As you just talked us through the whole move, it was great.
Yeah, secret psychic skills here.
No, but well done from me. And yeah, I'll hand the interview back to Alex there.
Yeah. Well, Sam, obviously we go to Imola in a couple of weeks' time. This now puts you in a very good position for second in the championship at the moment. Obviously, Neil's not here this evening. How do you fancy your chances at Imola with, the Porsche we know is the heaviest car on the grid, but obviously it can perform pretty well. Do you think that Imola is going to suit the Porsche?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a similar track to Spa, a lot of high speed, long straights, which doesn't suit the Porsche too well. It's the same as here, but I was really kind of lucky with the weather gods who decided to pour some rain on it. I was a bit, getting scared when I saw that it was not really raining, but it was a bit damp and dry. I was like, oh shit, here's gonna go the top speed issues again. But luckily it was good enough here. Imola, it depends. I haven't driven the track yet, but it's going to be tricky with the Porsche. I don't think I'll be as competitive if it's dry, but we'll have to see.
Well, Sam, congratulations. You definitely deserve a beer after that one. Well done tonight, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks for GT3s at Imola.
All right, man. Yeah, definitely we'll have one. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so there we go. Your winner for round 6, Sam Spanklink. And now we have actually what was one of the standout drives this evening, Dennis Bergman, P31 to P9 at the end of that all, and second in semi-pro. Great race, well done.
Thank you. Was not expecting to be P2 at the end, but it played out well. Starting on dries, quali was a bit tricky, weather dries, but at the end I thought that the dries would be better to start the race with, and apparently it was the case, and I guessed the pressures correctly, so I could make a lot of positions. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, we definitely did. We did. So Dennis, congratulations. Good to have you actually on the semi-pro podium, and you're looking forward to Imola in a couple of weeks' time.
I think so, yeah. I think so.
Well done, Dennis. Congratulations.
Let's see if I can be here again next round. In the green room.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. Well done, Dennis. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks at Imola.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
And, we do actually have our our ongoing championship leader with us, George Boothby. George, good evening.
Hello, you alright?
Good. Right, we've got a big question to ask you.
Just one.
What on earth happened to you what on earth happened in the first half of your race? Because
I was on wet.
You weren't exactly getting away. You were on wet, so you weren't exactly getting away. And then Steve was saying to me, "Yeah, well, he might do him in the pit stops." And I went, "Well, actually, no. Give it a couple of laps, and you might find that Sam will catch him and get past him." But you came back, as we always know you do. Whenever you got that car literally cornering on rails, to still get it P3, still keep a healthy championship lead going into Imola, you must be pretty happy with the damage limitation, so to speak.
Yeah, like I say, it was sort of a gamble. Either go with a aggressive dry strategy and then close the brake ducts, or go wet and then open them up and just see if you can make them survive. And I chose the wet strategy, and it unfortunately didn't pay off. But I think the fact I still managed to get third, I was really, really happy with that. I was really happy with that. So yeah, damage limitation. That's all I was thinking today.
Sorry, like Alex said, I sort of was thinking that Sem might get you in the pits, but the reason I thought he might get you in the pits was because I expected you to pit literally as soon as you saw that Sem was moving through the field behind you, because he wasn't just a second a lap quicker than you. He was well over a second a lap quicker, maybe 2 seconds sometimes. I expected you to pit very early, to be fair. Was there a reason you stayed out any longer? Because you literally didn't pit till about 25 minutes in, did you? And it was more or less the halfway point when you pitted. What was the reason for that? Did you not see any advantage in pitting earlier?
Yeah, so the reason I stayed out so long was because I'd opened my brake ducts all the way. So if I'd have gone onto the slicks, they would have just been blue. And so I was trying to run the wets as long as I could. And then when I went into the pits, I was thinking, do I go on the wets or do I go on the dries? But by the time I pitted, the wets were absolutely shredded. So I went to the slicks and they were basically bright blue for the whole stint. But I managed to get them kind of working, so I managed to get through the pack a bit, which was nice.
Yeah, you did show some good pace when you came back out there. I mean, your first flying lap initially when you came back out of the pits matched Sem's previous best lap, although it has to be said a couple of laps later on Sem did improve on that as well, but you were pretty much coming out of the pits straight back onto the pace, so great driving there, and great sort of racecraft and sort of sensible measured driving as well, because it's all about the championship, isn't it? So it's just accruing the points and keeping going. So we've got Imola coming up next. What's the plan there? Is it the George Boothby show as we've come to know it? Are you going to be sort of hammering it home in quali?
Every time I've been at Imola in the Ferrari, I've DNF'd. So I'm going to try and not DNF. I guess that's the goal.
Yeah, well,
hopefully I can get a good result.
Yeah, I'm sure you will, mate. I mean, to be fair, you're in a very, very strong position in the championship, so it's not like you need to go out and win every race. Although every time as drivers, when we hit the grid, that's what we want to do, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
But from me, it's a well done as always for tonight's performance. I think it was a very well measured. You dealt with what you dealt yourself, as it were, the strategy you had, and you did what you needed to do, and battled close and clean, and well done from me.
Hey, nice one. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, no worries, and hopefully I'll be catching up with you and Niels on Thursday night then.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. Cheers.
No worries. So George Boothby, our third place finisher in the overall side of things. Looks like. Is that a certain Tim Nyboer I spot? Good evening, Tim.
Good evening. Yes, it is. Indeed.
Well, firstly, congratulations. Semi-pro victory for yourself, starting P13 to P5. The Audi had some pace tonight, didn't it?
Yeah, it went quite well. So I actually used a setup that was kind of in between a wet setup and a dry setup, and it really seemed to work well. In combination with the dry tires, it worked way better than I expected, actually. So, really nice result.
I don't think you actually expected a top 5 overall, did you?
Well, no. There's of course the practice sessions, and in those sessions I really wasn't the fastest at decent pace, but yeah, definitely not the fastest. But for some reason, this weather combination and the setup and the tires, it just worked together, and finally got a nice result out of it.
Yeah, well, just really good to see that we've got another new winner. So this helps you out in the semi-pro standings. What are your thoughts ahead of Imola in a couple of weeks' time? Of a very similar circuit in the way, well, not as long as Spa-Francorchamps, let's be completely honest, but still very fast. I mean, especially going through California, the Audi's. The Audi's always been strong, especially through fast and medium speed corners. Is that going to something that's going to play to your advantage in a couple of weeks' time, maybe?
Well, I definitely hope so. So, but at the same time, Imola, it's kind of tricky with all the curbs, which the Audi really doesn't like at all. So we'll see how that goes. But hopefully, I can repeat what you saw tonight. That would be really nice.
Yeah, well, Tim Nyboer, our semi-pro winner from tonight, congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. See you.
So that really rounds things out here. Steve, Sem Spankelink does it again. A new winner in the form of Tim Nyboer in semi-pro. I don't think, we haven't seen anything yet. I think when we see Mr. 47, Niels van der Kerkelt, back in the fray, I think we could have a really, really good race at Imola in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Imola's a good driver's track. It's difficult to overtake, but not impossible. It's a good track. If we get dry conditions as well, I think there'll be some pretty good lap times. I know George said he's always DNF'd at Imola. I think that just goes to show how hard it is to get some of the overtakes done, and it really challenges the racecraft as you're trying to put moves on drivers through some of those fast sort of turns at Imola, and it's going to be very interesting to see. And I for one am looking forward to it.
Yeah, so lots coming up here on SRHI TV. So next week. Excuse me, frog in the throat there. That's what you get for talking for quite a long time. Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm going to mention something now. Right, between now this is quite relevant. Now, George said that he DNFs at Imola. Well, between him and Niels van der Kekelt at Imola at Sprint Cup Season 3 Sim Grid, they finished P6. So there is a bit of light at the end of the tunnel for George Boothby. Just putting it out there.
Just as if he needs a light at the end of the tunnel, Alex. he's a dominant force.
Yeah, but he put himself down a peg by saying, "Yeah, every time I go to Imola, I DNF'd." Well, I wanted to change the ledger a little bit there.
Have you not heard the Lewis Hamilton mind games? My tyres are shot, and then goes out and puts fastest laps in. I think there was a bit of a George Boothby there.
Yeah,
I think he's talking down his chances.
He's trying to talk himself down.
Yeah, absolutely. But
we'll see.
Yeah, George Boothby will be there. He'll be at the top of the field, and he'll be battling for that win. I am sure of that. It'll just be who's there to take the battle to him. Will it be Sem Spenkling? Will it be Van der Kekelt? Will it be Zimmerman? There is a whole host of drivers. I don't disrespect anybody by not mentioning them in that list. It is just the list is too long. So I think we're going to be in for a great race at Imola.
Yeah. Indeed, a list that will be long as both my forearms and my biceps all combined. But that's it from us here at Spa-Francorchamps, the virtual recreation here on Sim Racing Hub International Television. A big thank you for you all for watching. Don't forget, next week, GT4 Sprint Championship Season 2 Race 6 heads to the Circuit de Catalunya Barcelona in Spain a week from today, with Tim Fullbrook and Steve Proudley once again on commentary. We'll be back, myself and Steve, in a couple of weeks' time as we head to the Autodromo Enzo Dino Ferrari at Imola for race 7 out of 9 for Season 3 GT3 Sprint Championship. So that is it from us. Good night, stay safe, look after yourselves, and we'll see you very soon. Thanks for watching.